for tonight's pre-race ceremonies from the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise as you are able and remove your hats as the Upson Lee High School Navy ROTC Color Guard presents our nation's colors. Here to offer today's invocation, please welcome from Go Church in Sharpsburg, Georgia, J.C. Worley.
God, I thank you for the incredible opportunity to stand on this platform and just talk about how good you really are. I also want to celebrate NASCAR and their continued commitment to allowing prayer to be the kickstarter to their epic race day events. So we pray protection over all of the drivers, the team, the officials, and all of these amazing fans. And most importantly, we give you thanks for your son Jesus, for dying on the cross at Calvary for our sins. And it's in his powerful name we pray. And together everybody said amen and amen.
Now here to perform our national anthem from America's Got Talent, whose new album Glory Days is available now, Chapel Heart.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, give proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Nothing better than the flyover and the national anthem prior to a NASCAR event. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in here tonight for the running of the Quaker State 400 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for tonight's live commentary coverage of the NASCAR Cup Series action. We have flag-to-flag coverage every NASCAR Truck Xfinity and Cup Series every NASCAR race weekend for the races I don't go to in person. Yesterday, we had a doubleheader with the Truck Series race at Mid-Ohio, followed by the Atlanta Xfinity Series race last night. Well, today, we have the Cup Series action for you guys here today. Sorry for maybe a slightly later start time for this one. We were originally supposed to have a pre-race coverage at 6:30. Had traffic getting out of Detroit for the Tigers game earlier today. As you can see, I haven't changed yet into my Ryan Blaney stuff. I will do that mid-race when I get a chance to, especially because I think it's his night here tonight. If there is one prediction I will have for who I think will win today's race, it is Ryan Blaney. I do think a Ford will go to victory lane. Dominant in the Atlanta race earlier this year, dominant in qualifying again yesterday as they swept the top 6 positions. 3 of them Penske Fords or affiliated Fords, with Harrison Burton up inside the top 5 for the start of today's race. We'll go through the full field starting lineup to begin things off today. Eric Almirola on the pole as he qualified there through yesterday evening's qualifying session at Atlanta, and Ryan Blaney, my pick to win the race today. Coke 600 winner this season, will start to his outside in row 1. Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano in row 2. Briscoe in a must-win situation after the points penalty he had earlier this season, and Joey Logano won the spring Atlanta race earlier this year. Harrison Burton and Kevin Harvick will line up in row 3. Harvick's first career win came at the old Atlanta surface. We'll see if he can maybe get his final career win at the new Atlanta surface today. Ty Gibbs and Kyle Larson will be in row 4. Larson, still searching for his 3rd win of the year, has not won on a track bigger than 3/4 of a mile. Ty Gillen and Austin Cindric will be in row number 5. Cindric should be one to look out for, another Penske Ford, and of course won the Daytona 500 last season on a drafting racetrack with the next-gen car. Brad Keselowski and Tyler Reddick will be in row 6. Keselowski led the most laps in the spring race at Atlanta earlier this season, looking to lead the most important one, which is the last lap today. Tyler Reddick and Ryan Preece will be Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick in row 6. Ryan Preece and Denny Hamlin will be in row 7. Hamlin, of course, we know is very good on these super speedway drivers, probably the driver to watch for Toyota this evening. Chris Buescher and Martin Truex Jr. in row number 8 for this one. Buescher the furthest back of the either Penske or RFK Fords through qualifying yesterday, but should be fast in the race today. We'll have to see how well he can manipulate the draft and work his way from the middle of the pack to the front. Martin Truex Jr. still searching for his first career win on a super speedway today. He is coming into this race with that being the stat, but he is also the points leader. So if this is a season that he can get it done, maybe today is the day that he can get it done, because we have seen the points leader win the truck and the Xfinity race already this weekend, and maybe it's time for him to win the Cup race for the points lead today. Justin Haley and William Byron will line up in row number 9 behind them. William Byron, of course, won the Atlanta Spring Race in 2022 with the next-gen car, and Justin Haley ran very well, almost won the Xfinity race last night, and is a pretty solid super speedway racer himself. A.J. Allmendinger and Michael McDowell will be in row 10. McDowell, the 2021 Daytona 500 winner, and A.J. Allmendinger still looking for his first oval win in the NASCAR Cup Series side of things. Cole Custer will be in the 51 car this weekend for Rick Ware Racing with Kyle Busch to his outside. Busch with a win on a drafting track this year at Talladega, almost won the Daytona 500, and had a great, solid top 5 finish as well in the spring Atlanta race. As far as row number 12 behind them, you have Chase Elliott, last year's Summer Atlanta winner, and J.J. Yaley in the 15 for Rick Ware Racing this weekend to his outside. Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez will be in row number 13. Ty Dillon, Corey LaJoie in row 14. This was LaJoie's probably career best run in the Summer Atlanta race last year, so it'll be fun to watch him come from the back of the field today if he's able to do so. This year's Daytona 500 winner Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will start on the inside of row 15, with Ross Chastain starting deep in the field to his outside. He will be another fun driver to watch coming from the back of the pack. Noah Gragson in the 42 car this weekend, looking to have another solid run on a super speedway like he did at Talladega earlier this season. Austin Hill, super speedway ace from the Xfinity Series, will be starting in the 62 car for Beard Motorsports on the outside of row 16. Austin Dillon and Christopher Bell will be in row 17 for this one. Bell, not very good success on super speedway races for himself, did finish 3rd in the 500 this year, and Austin Dillon, a 2-time super speedway winner in the NASCAR Cup Series of his 4 career wins, both at Daytona in the 2018 500 and last year's summer race in 2022. BJ McLeod and Alex Bowman start towards the rear of the field in row number 18. Bowman going to have his work cut out for him. And in row 19, rounding out the 37 car field this evening, is Bubba Wallace, who is a very good super speedway racer, got his first career cup win on a super speedway Talladega in 2021, and we will see what he could do here in this race today. Here's the command from Richard Childress.
Start your engines.
Junior, tonight is a great opportunity for an upset winner. Think about this, only 3 drivers that have won so far this year qualified in the top 11, and look at the youth in the top 10. Austin Cindric, 22 years old, 24 years old. Todd Gilliland, 23. Todd Gibbs, he's just a baby. He's 20 years old. Harrison Burton, only 22. A lot of youth and aggression in this top 10.
The only thing I see right here in the top 10 are Fords. We got one Toyota and one Chevrolet. The Fords dominated this race in the spring. They dominated qualifying again. They are going to be hard to beat tonight. It is going to matter that your car handles and is fast. I think it's going to be the Ford boys. Who's going to win it? We don't know, but I do know we got a green flag coming up next.
When you drive a Ram, summer is more than a season.
Trying to get my Blaney shirt on. I couldn't find one quick enough. All right, I will do that during the next commercial break. We've already gone through the starting lineup for today's race. You got in the command. We went through the national anthem. Cars are about to roll onto the track for their parade laps. We'll take a look at the point standings coming into this race here today. I mentioned already that in the driver lineup that Martin Truex Jr. is the points leader. He has just a 9-point lead over William Byron. Byron much better on the super speedways than Truex, so he has a good chance to try to retake that points lead today. Ross Chastain, who has won a super speedway race with the next-gen car at Talladega in the spring last season, although he starts deep in the field today, is only 18 points out of first. Christopher Bell starting deep in the field also today is 21 points out of first. Kyle Busch, who's fifth in the standings, is minus 31. So yes, the top 5 drivers within 31 points of one another. Denny Hamlin's 53 back, also within 1 race worth of points. He could trim that down today. We know how good he is on super speedways as well. Got to go back to Harvick, who's 7th in points, who is minus 68. First driver that is more than 1 race below the cutoff line. Drivers who are locked into the Cup Series playoffs, virtue of wins through the first 18 points races of the season, are these drivers that I'm about to talk about. Kyle Busch, William Byron each have 3 wins this season, tied for the most. Kyle Larson and Martin Truex Jr. have 2 wins on the year, and a lot of drivers with 1 win this season. Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. all with 1 win on the season so far. If we look at the drivers on points and where they are running virtue of the cutoff line, Kevin Harvick, who's 7th in the regular season standings, is the highest driver in points without a win. He is more than 2 full races ahead of the cutoff line, so he's looking very comfortable. 151 points to the good, as after tonight's race is done, we still have 8 races left in the regular season, so there's a chance we can get more than 16 different winners, but not as likely to this point in the year as what we saw in last year's season at this point heading into this Atlanta race. But this is a track that could produce an upset winner with it being a super speedway style race. A lot of young drivers that haven't gotten a win yet this season starting towards the front of the field in the top 10. Ty Gibbs, Austin Cindric just outside the top 10. Harrison Burton starts in the top 5. Eric Almirola doesn't have a win this season. He's in the top 5 to start. Kevin Harvick starts in the top 10. So there's a good chance that somebody without a win could get their first of the season here today. Chris Buescher is 104 points to the good in a Ford. Should have a good run tonight if I had to guess. He is 104 points to the good, like I mentioned, so he is just ahead of a race and a half worth of points. So is his teammate Brad Keselowski right behind him in the standings at plus 91. It gets tight after that, though. You go down to the 15th place car in the playoff standings. That, as of right now, would be Bubba Wallace. He is plus 15. And Ty Gibbs, rookie, is plus 6, trying to make the playoffs in his first career full-time season in the NASCAR Cup Series. He comes in just ahead of Daniel Suarez, who is minus 6 after a couple of road course races. Michael McDowell has trimmed his gap down to 10 points out of first. If he scores a lot today, he could be one of the favorites to be inside the cutoff line exiting today's race. AJ Allmendinger, also who ran well on recent road course races, minus 24 points. Minus 26 points is Alex Bowman in the 48 car. So Bowman has slipped back quite a bit, even since coming back from that back injury where he missed 3 points races and then also missed the All-Star race. He was just inside the cutoff line when he came back, but now has slipped behind Suarez, McDowell, Allmendinger. So hopefully it doesn't fall too far back, or Hendrick Motorsports could be at a risk of potentially missing 2 drivers from the playoffs. Justin Haley's minus 45 points. He got quite a bit of that back after finishing second last weekend on the Chicago Street Course race. Austin Cindric, who has been pretty abysmal in the summer months, has really fallen behind the cutoff line. He was actually just behind Suarez and Bowman about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Now he's minus 45. Corey LaJoie minus 47, pretty strong season for Spire Motorsports. And Chase Elliott has cut his deficit down to 55 points below. I think when he came back from his leg injury, he was about 121 points back, which was just over 2 full races. He has cut it down to a little bit less than 1 full race, on top of the fact that he, of course, missed an extra race due to a suspension. So 7 less races for Chase this season than anybody else. And he is definitely starting to cut into that gap. He's probably going to have to pick up the consistency just a little bit more, because there's quite a few drivers between him. Again, there's 8 drivers he has to pass to get the 16th if he's going to point his way in. So he will be an interesting story to watch over these final 9 races of the regular season. For more pre-race updates, here is the NBC booth. You can watch the race on the USA Network. Thanks for everybody who has tuned in so far to tonight's stream. And I guess before I give you guys the ability to be able to listen to more of the pre-race coverage here, Hendrick fans, Dark Crypto, Robert Perko, Joanne Cryer, Earl Arnold Jr., Rebecca Chatlos, Sonic Kicking Mario 1943, BAL, Rowdy Bond 1771, NASCAR Fan 05, Kenneth Clark, Billy Kramer, Harry T, Big E, Union Pacific 4855, Trentman Railfan Productions, thanks for tuning in. That's a long name right there. Cars One Boy, thanks for tuning in here tonight as well. Chris Davis, Colton Thompson, Mark Witkowski, Brett Whiteside, Jer Cobra, Linda Bollinger, Patrick Shadley, Fateh Demilier Yusuf, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Regine Huddleston, Philip Moore, and Melinda Leverett, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in here tonight. Dark Crypto, also welcome to the stream. NASCAR Vintage 17, welcome. And yeah, again, here is some of the pre-race coverage during the parade laps.
In the Cup Series was just tying him with Darrell Waltrip. Marty.
Well, Richard Childress will tell you he was a little nervous,
Kelly
excited
O'Neill,
though for this
welcome.
moment as he pulls on to pit road. But Steve, funny story about this chassis. You know, you would think everybody knew that day that was a huge moment in NASCAR history, right? You would think they retired it immediately, right? No. Guess what happened? They ran it 4 more times in 2001 as RC comes down pit road, still holding the 3 out. They finished second 1 more time with it. And then at the end of 01 is when they retired this car. That sounds about right for cars circa 2001, doesn't it, Steve?
Hey, run it. If it works, run it. We're not worried about history. We're worried about performance. Just a great story and such a cool moment.
Is RC trying to do a burnout down there?
It sounded like him. He was trying to do a burnout. Let's
Looking good.
dial up the driver of the 4. He got to just lead the field next to that 29 car. Let's see what Kevin has to say here. Hey, Kevin, it's the NBC booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, man, I know it's emotion-filled to come back to Atlanta, but before we get to the business at hand, let's talk about that moment we just saw. How cool was it pacing the field next to that 29 that you so famously won with?
Yeah, that's pretty special. You know, Atlanta Motor Speedway has been great. Richard's been talking about that for weeks, and we've been talking about old memories, and to be able to see that car, the actual car at the racetrack, on the racetrack, I just really appreciate Richard and everybody at RCR for making that moment happen. So that was a lot of fun. It's been a fun couple days, and hopefully we can end it with a good night.
Yeah, I heard you tell Dale and Jeff earlier about how you were excited and was going to go for the win tonight. Let's talk about the business at hand. Your 36th start here at Atlanta, 8:09 in the Cup Series. What's the emotion feel like strapping into the office for the 809th time?
That feels good. You know, I think I love what I do. I love everything that comes with it, and you know, I'm obviously going to miss that part, but it's going to be a lot of fun these next 18 weeks.
All right, man, appreciate you taking the time. That new pit road entry comes up quick. I'll get off the radio, let you go to work.
Thank you.
So he's going to make his way onto pit road. They'll all be checking their pit road speed. And while they're doing that, let's go back to pit road where Kim Kuhn is.
Well, Bubba Wallace had an issue yesterday in qualifying and abandoned his lap, so we'll start at the back of the field. The car is good for the race, and he told me while he does need to work his way through a lot of traffic, it doesn't pay to be overly aggressive early in the race. It pays at the end. So Dave, patience is going to be Bubba's best friend the first half of this race here tonight.
Kim, Chase Elliott can still make the playoffs. His 29-point gain to the cut line in the last 2 races is more than enough pace to do it by points with 8 to go, but winning is the sure way. Can he do it from 23rd starting spot tonight? That is going to be tough, but Marty, he's at home where he's comfortable, especially after winning this race last year.
Well, the winner here in March was Joey Logano, Dave, and I asked Paul Wolfe this morning, when you qualified so well, was that maybe a little bit of a concern? Are you too trimmed out, trying to get too much speed out of the car? He said, no, that's an old thinking with the old car. With this new car, we can put downforce in the car before we even get to the grid. He said, we will handle well, and the confidence is high in the 22 cam. So, Junior, these drivers are rolling off. What's going through the driver's mind right now as they get ready for the chaos and the chess match of Atlanta racing?
Well, we know in qualifying we saw a large majority of these cars have trouble. Talk about how slick the cars were, how loose they were. So as a driver, without any practice, and just knowing that my car was not comfortable in qualifying, I'm worried about, did we do enough? When this thing goes green and I'm tucked around 3 or 4 cars in that dirty air, what's it going to drive like? How committed can I be to the throttle? How hard can I drive this race car to start?
And on top of all those concerns, track position matters. You need to start fighting for it right now when they drop the green flag. You need to fight for it all night long. So what I'm thinking about is I'm getting myself in gear, and I'm going to drive this first lap almost as aggressively as I'm going to drive the last one, because if I lose track position, I may not get it back.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. I think You know, when they go off into turn one, there's going to be a lot of cautiousness. Probably that first stage, that second stage, just feeling out the grip in the racetrack. Stage 3, though, that's going to be lightning.
All right, Steve, he mentioned track position so important. As a crew chief, this is one of those racetracks where you've got to be perfect. You guys have got to make sure you can't lose any positions on pit road because it's so hard to gain on the track.
Well, the game's already started when the two drivers are doing their walk there with the cars fired up. If you listen, they fired up and shut right off. Drivers were already saving fuel just to try to help their pit crews put less fuel in. And we talk about downforce and trim and all of these things. So this newly configured Atlanta Motor Speedway, now having its 4th race, is easy wide open if you're out there by yourself. The more speed you put in your car, the harder it is to stay wide open throttle. Now we're going to put all the cars out there together. Air is going to be super turbulent. Everything is going to be more difficult, Junior. So while wide open is the goal, it's anything but straightforward.
Yeah, pretty incredible. I just got to say, man, how awesome it was to see Richard Childress driving that 29 car. Talking to Harvick throughout the week, and even today, he was telling us how amped up Richard was to be able to be in that car. Come down pit road before the rest of the field is, just revving that thing over and over and over. He's so excited.
It was cool. I was with you, Rick. I thought he was going to try a burnout. I wasn't sure what we were going to see.
Well, he looked like he was having fun, and that's great for the Hall of Famer Richard Childress, who has been such a staple in this sport, you know, celebrating the 75 years of the sport. And Richard Childress has been right there and a part of it for so long, and a very important part of it. Not only, like I said, as a driver to start off with, but also as an owner.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen basically everything, you know, without a doubt. Well, his anxiety, for me, is running a little bit high. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to see here when we drop the green. Let's listen in what the 14 has to say.
Thank you, guys. All the work on this thing, obviously, you got a really fast power rod, so you got nothing to lose. So be aggressive, but smart all day long.
Be aggressive but smart all day long. It's going to be interesting to try to do both, but we'll see what that 14 of Chase Briscoe can do throughout the course of the night. A little Sunday night NASCAR for the second time in 3 weeks. Had a night race at Nashville 2 weeks ago, the next oval race. Here we are under the lights once again on a Sunday evening. Green flag is about to drop. Pole sitter Eric Almirola elects the outside lane, leads the field through the Geico restart zone. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway in the Quaker State 400 at Atlanta. Field rumbles down into turns 1 and 2, 2x2, gridlocked at the front of the field, as we'll see most of the day for the top and bottom lanes. Fords occupy the top 6 positions from the start of the race. Top 3 on the bottom and top lane as of right now. A little bit of lane changing going on down the backstretch off turn 2 as the bottom has lost a couple of numbers. Only 3 cars now inside the top 7 or 8 are on the inside lane. Chase Briscoe got a little tight, almost making contact with the car to his outside and being the 21 of Harrison Burton. Opening lap will be led by Eric Almirola. Ryan Blaney will hop in line in 3rd place behind his teammate Joey Logano at the front of the field. Briscoe leads the bottom with Ty Gibbs behind him. And now they are inside the 3rd place car of Ryan Blaney off of turn 2 and down the backstretch once again. About a 2-car length gap opened up between the Penske Fords of Logano and Blaney through turns 3 and 4. Blaney still on that outside lane as of right now. We'll see if Briscoe moves up, and he does, right behind the 12 car. Single file now through the top 7 or 8 cars, all the way back to nearly Ty Gibbs, where he was able to fall in line right around the 6th place position. Harvick also behind him, still single file. Now the top goes to the bottom lane of the racetrack. Ryan Blaney stayed to the outside, surprisingly, there in the middle of the corner. Didn't lose any positions. Not sure if his car got tight or he's just trying to get clean air. Whatever the case was, he stays in the 3rd place spot. Didn't try to make a move on his teammate as the Fords have a stranglehold on the field right now. Blue ovals covering the top 5 positions in the early going. Ty Gibbs, the highest running Toyota, and the highest Chevrolet is Larson. He is the only Chevy in the top 13. Currently in the 8th place position. Brad Keselowski down to the bottom, qualified outside the top 10. Both RFK Fords did, trying to get themselves up to the front of the field where the rest of the Fords are running for right now. Keselowski led the most laps in the spring Atlanta race earlier this season, got passed on the final lap by Joey Logano on the backstretch, where Logano got his one and only win of the calendar year. We'll see if Keselowski can break through here this evening. But Almirola out in front for right now. Kevin Harvick lost a little bit of time off the top, and he's going to get Frank trained now as he's got nobody going with him. We'll see if he can find a hole and squeeze his race car in there before he loses too many positions. He's already fallen from about 6th place all the way back Finally getting into the outside lane between William Byron and Todd Gilliland. And back in 13th is Harvick right now, so he lost 7 positions that last lap as he got shuffled off the top side of the racetrack. And the Ford numbers have shrunk just a little bit because of that, of those that are inside the top 10 positions. Slides Byron up another spot or two that last lap as well, as I believe he also passed the 38. Ty Gibbs now getting washed off the bottom lane, the top lane rather, of the racetrack. Kyle Larson is going to get there and looking to make a pass on the 54 car. He's going to get a little extra draft behind the 21 car of Harrison Burton, who is back on the top side. Those 5 Fords at the front of the field running the bottom in the middle of the corner, the top in the center, so that's why you're seeing a lot of jockeying for position going on behind them, as cars are trying to take advantage of that by getting to the outside off the exit of the corner where they can carry a little bit more momentum and speed off the progressive banking at this new Atlanta Motor Speedway before they move back down to the bottom again, and they're just kind of riding on the top, having to side draft the car to their inside to make sure they can still maintain that positioning, catch the draft, maybe get a push from behind. Cindric's got a huge closing rate on the back of the 5 car, gave him a big shot on the front stretch. Larson is not quite clear of the 54 yet if he wants to move to the bottom to draft the 21 in the middle of the corner, and that is working well for those top 5 positions. Tyler Reddick is also in the bottom lane with Ty Gibbs in the 54, so a couple Toyotas trying to work the bottom. Denny Hamlin now goes to the inside of the Coca-Cola number 11 Toyota. Nice paint scheme on that car this weekend. Also ran a similar scheme with that sponsor in last year's Summer Atlanta race. Giving me a late Dale Earnhardt, Dale Jr. vibes from the late 90s in those Japan races. The Coca-Cola scheme on Hamlin's car this weekend. Not the same scheme that was on either one of those cars, but just that sponsor on the hood of a race car reminds me very much of that. Almirola's led the first 9 laps of the race so far. Pretty calm at the very front of the field. And then a little bit of side-by-side and 2x2 racing outside of the top 5, but nobody's really able to clear anybody back there with the way the top 5 positions are manipulating the draft by, again, cutting to the bottom in the center of the corners, running the top on the straightaways, allows in the middle of the corners for the bottom to take control, but not enough to clear the car to the outside, and vice versa with the outside cars on the straightaways. Gibbs finally had to lift out, or actually it was Tyler Reddick in the 45, the Monster Beast Unleashed race car. And with doing that, he ended up back in line on the top behind Cindric. Pulls back to the bottom. There's a lot more cars on the inside lane than the top. The only 2 cars that were on the top lane through 1 and 2 on lap 11 that last time by were Kyle Larson and Austin Cindric. Everybody else, though, pretty much single file behind them in the field. Very cautious start to this race. 60 laps in the first stage. They will be able to make it through the first stage on fuel, so we won't expect any green flag pit stops to come in these first 60 laps. Pretty packed crowd on hand for tonight's race. Great to see for both Atlanta races this season. Fans definitely willing to see this new style of racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway that they have never seen before prior to last season. I was at the spring race last season, which was the first race on this surface. I had a lot of fun. It exceeded my expectations. I didn't think it was going to be quite as good of a race as it probably was. And it definitely is more pack racing than what maybe I intended it being. Although I still stayed true to my predictions and the fact that we probably won't be pack racing here in another 5 or so years with how narrow the track is. How many bumps are on the track already, despite the fact that they repaved it. They didn't do a perfect job at smoothing the racetrack out, similar to Daytona and Talladega right now. So handling very, very treacherous, especially in the summer race with the hot, slick conditions. We saw that come into a big effect in last night's Xfinity race, and I'm sure we'll see that again here today. But early in the run, relatively fresh tires. Haven't seen any incidents so far, drivers overstepping their boundaries, and we remain caution-free. Under the first full-screen commercial break of the race, again, the race is on the USA Network for anybody wondering. We'll go through the full field running order here in Stage 1 at lap 14. Eric Almirola is your race leader, Joey Logano in second, Ryan Blaney third, Chase Briscoe fourth, and Ty Gibbs is in fifth. Kyle Larson in sixth place, Harrison Burton seventh, Austin Cindric eighth, Tyler Reddick ninth, and Denny Hamlin is 10th. William Byron in 11th place, 12th place is Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gilliland 13th, Kevin Harvick 14th, Brad Keselowski is 15th. Michael McDowell in 16th place, AJ Allmendinger 17th, Justin Haley in 18th, Ryan Preece 19th, Chris Buescher in 20th. Chase Elliott in 21st, Kyle Busch 22nd, Christopher Bell 23rd, Corey LaJoie 24th, Daniel Suarez 25th, Alex Bowman 26th, Ross Chastain 27th, J.J. Yeley 28th, 29th is Bubba Wallace, Eric Jones is 30th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 31st, Austin Dillon 32nd, B.J. McLeod 33rd, 34th is Austin Hill, Cole Custer 35th, Ty Dillon 36th, Noah Gragson 37th, rounding out the field. Just about 8 minutes into the race, 16 laps in. Seeing lap times in the mid 30-second lap range. It's amazing how much faster the Cup cars are in the Super Speedways than the Xfinity cars. I think some of the faster Xfinity Series lap times we saw yesterday were in the mid 31-second lap area, about a full second quicker lap with these Cup cars on this Atlanta Super Speedway. Average speed for a lap time I've seen up in the 182. I think last night during the Xfinity race I saw them around 177, 178 at their fastest. So definite speed difference here. A little bit more grip I think with these Cup cars, allowing them to go a bit faster, which is going to be interesting to see how the tires wear throughout the course of the run. We don't see as much with the next gen car, but on the intermediates we have throughout the course of the season, and this is a hybrid intermediate super speedway, so we may still see that slight difference in tire wear over the course of a full tire stint / fuel run. Only 4 Toyota in the top 20, shocking. Well, there's only 6 in the field entirely, so I mean, and it's over half of them. James Turner, thanks for tuning in. He's pulling for Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman today. Probably Hendrick fan, hoping those guys get into the playoffs if I had to assume. Irina Sayre, thanks for tuning into the stream also. Sean Bonifant, thanks for tuning in also. Who else is in the chat here since the start of the race? Vintage Chick, thanks for tuning in. Tyler Bonifant, thanks for tuning in. We got a whole Bonifant family. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in here tonight. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Up to 55 likes on the stream so far. Just over 100 people watching in the early laps of tonight's race. Showed a replay of an incident that happened, I guess, during the commercial break as we're under caution for the first time. Harrison Burton gets a little loose off turn 2, spins, and it looked like the field barely missed him. Ty Gillen almost cleaned out the left rear portion of the race car in that 21, and Hamlin almost ran into the back of the 21 with the 38, running into the back of the 11 as they all tried to check up, and luckily nobody hit Burton, and I believe Burton kept it off the inside wall as well, so 4 fresh tires will get right back out there, but a tough... Oh, he did not keep it off the inside wall. I apologize. I spoke to... actually, he might have. I think he locked the tires down and he's beached. I think they're just going to tow him back to pit road because he has flat-spotted his tires and he is stuck on the back straightaway. So he is not going to maintain on the lead lap, but the car should be clean to continue. Fortunately, he scored, looks like a lap or 2 down already as we're under caution. Again, for the first time today, lap 16... is when the caution flag came out. Currently in lap 18, pit road will be open soon, but because nobody has to pit for fuel or tires, I don't expect many drivers to come down. Maybe just the drivers maybe in the back half of the field just to top off on field, go off on strategy. But with how long the second 2 stages are, I don't think it's really going to matter much if you pit now or stay out. Drivers at the front of the field, I imagine, going to keep that track position, which is all important at any given track. But a little bit more difficult to work your way from the back of the field to the front at this style of super speedway. A lot more narrow than Daytona and Talladega is. So it's very difficult to get a third lane going. We'll see very little 3-wide racing tonight. We saw more last night than what I thought we were going to, and I would be remiss in saying that I don't think we're going to see quite that much here in today's race. Scotty Dingus, Christopher McComas, Frank Powers, thanks for tuning into the stream. Patty Rumdy Creations, welcome in as well. Our goal for tonight's race, let's get to 200 likes. That might be stretching it a little bit, but we hit 200 likes during last week's Chicago Street Course stream. We've hit 200 likes a few times this season, and we've hit it 3 times, I think, of the 5 in the last month. So let's get to 200 again tonight. Let's push above and beyond with the like count. On the road to 5,000 subs as well right now, so definitely want to hit that subscribe button there as well. If you have not done so already, for more live race commentary streams like this throughout the course of the season for all NASCAR Truck Xfinity Cup Series races. We'll take a look at next week's NASCAR schedule, and we'll see what the scheduling will be like for the New Hampshire race weekend. The Truck Series will be off next weekend at New Hampshire, so it's just the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series for next week's races. Our NASCAR Xfinity Series coverage on Saturday afternoon will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, again, 200 lap race at New Hampshire for the Xfinity Series next weekend. That will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our Cup Series coverage next week with our pre-race usually starting a half hour to 45 minutes before the start of the race. And for the Cup side, on Sunday we will be going live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 3 p.m. start time for the Xfinity race on Saturday next week. Our Cup Series start time for the Cran 301 will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time again next weekend. Back to another short track. New Hampshire's put on some really good races over the last 3 or 4 years, so I'm sure we'll have another good one again next weekend. Going to be very track position dependent, similar to how the Gateway race was about a month ago. 200 likes before halfway. Now that is maybe stretching it a little too far, but we are at 74 likes already, and we are still very early into this race. So I greatly appreciate you guys smashing that like button here in the early going of tonight's race. And let's keep it going here as we're under, again, a commercial break right now, and also under caution for the first time after a Harrison Burton spin. Just got loose off turn 2. That was where we saw most of the drivers losing control in the Cup race earlier in the spring, last season, and again here tonight. The Xfinity race as well, we saw some spins off the exit of turn 2. The cars just get very light at that end of the track, more so than turn 4, because there's a little bit more banking on the front stretch than the back straightaway. The back stretch, I think there's 0 degrees of banking. I think it is that flat. And you go from 36 to 0, the cars tend to get really light off the exit corner, especially on the outside, closer to the wall where there's more banking, which is where Harrison Burton was at the time of his spin. On the front stretch side, there's a bit more banking on the front stretch, so it's not as drastic coming off the corner. Plus, because of the curved dog leg, it's not as sharp of an angle off the exit of the corner as what it is on the back straightaway, and I think that's why you see more incidences off turn 2 at this Atlanta configuration than turn 4. Still working Burton's car back to the pit lane. Both rear tires were flat spotted in this slide. Again, he kept it off the wall, but he is losing a lot of laps. Currently scored 4 laps down as they try to get that car back to his pit box, so that has taken a lengthy time. The good news is he's the only car lap down, but the bad news is if we don't get a lot of cautions, he is not going to get back with the lead lap. So tough break for any Harrison Burton fans or Burton family fans out there. Not looking like a good start to the night for him. Not going to get the one to go signal this time by, so we'll play a little bit of the broadcast during the rest of this caution period.
177 miles an hour when that thing went sideways on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a quick bobble, right? It just gets a little light, and around he goes. The unfortunate part why there was no damage, he's currently 3 laps down. He's getting ready to be at least 4 as he sits in his pit box, so, he can pass anyone who has in an accident, but it'd be shocking if the 21 could get back on the lead lap. Kim?
Well, Christopher Bell is absolutely marching through the field. Currently runs in the 17th position after starting 36. I talked to crew chief Adam Stevens. He said, yes, qualifying surprised us, but we have no reason to worry. In the spring, he reminded me, they went to the rear with unapproved adjustments and ultimately were able to finish 3rd. They felt very confident about what they brought here this evening, Marty, and they should be ones to watch as we continue throughout the night.
Kim plus 10 for William Byron, 18th to 8th. How does he feel about the car? Listen to the radio.
But I was better than everybody else. Everybody has the same problem. It was pretty fun right there. I'd say, definitely got a handle good. I just won a smidge bar and exit, 1 number probably.
That problem he's talking about is being just a little bit too free, but William Byron certainly coming up through the field. And Steve, I did just chat with Rodney Childers a moment ago about why he brought Kevin Harvick down pit road. He's thinking further ahead, as you mentioned, it's just going to shorten their stop in stage 2. And what he told me was, we're not going to have to wait on fuel as long as everybody else will when we finally do come down pit road. And I think what he's talking there is the stop at the end of the stage.
Yeah, basically you can change 4 tires with these single lug nuts so fast that if you need more than about 12 or 13 gallons of gas, you actually have to wait on the Sunoco fuel to be put in the car. So you kind of keep it to this threshold. And for the William Byron radio, very rarely do you hear a driver talk about how fun it is. I know they're having fun, but they're so focused on the task at hand
And when I hear fun out of a driver, that's usually the driver I like to watch.
Let's check in with Peacock Pit Box. Brad, KP, what did you guys think about seeing Richard Childress pilot that 29 around here?
Listen, brought back a lot of memories for me. I raced against Richard Childress when I first started. But to know what they accomplished 22 years ago, I guess, Kevin Harvick and Richard Childress with that 29 car, Will Lynn, Chocolate Myers, Danny Lawrence, that whole group, it was pretty emotional for me to watch.
Absolutely. Kevin Harvick had actually driven my truck 2 years before that. He went to Richard to drive his Xfinity car, and then that opportunity became available. And that was incredible to watch, very sentimental. But right now, there's not a lot of passing. It's tough to get by. They run 184 miles an hour in the corner. I love that. Rick, they're getting ready to drop the flag. It's going to be fun to watch.
We're going to do it again. And let me just throw this at you. First, we'll go to Kim.
And Kyle Busch had an unfortunate pit stop. They had trouble on the right rear. That very slow stop relegated them to the end of the field. So they had nothing to lose. Randall Burnett, the crew chief, asked Kyle, do you need anything else? He said, let's make another adjustment. Way too loose. So they pitted again for a right front adjustment.
They caught up to the back.
Green flag back in the air, lap 24 on the ensuing restart. Almirola again to the outside of the front row for his lane choice. Blaney will be on the inside of row 2. He was in third at the time of the caution. Logano chose the outside behind the 10. Kyle Larson, the only Chevy inside the top 10 for this restart right now, trying to push Blaney in that bottom lane. Larson's been performing pretty good from a speed standpoint in these super speedway races with the next-gen car, but can't seem to make it to the end of these races without getting in a crash. If he could do that today, he could be in good position to be one of the highest-running Chevys at the end of this race. As of right now, that is working out well for him. Blaney again in third place, ducks in line behind Logano, just as we saw at the initial start of the race as well when he was on the inside of row 1 underneath the 10 of Almirola. Just a lot tougher for that inside lane to really get going, especially on these restarts. And the lack of numbers, too, as the bottom lane cars behind the front row car just pull up to the outside. The sooner they can, the better, before losing too much track position. If they can keep enough cars down on the bottom, we may see it work. That was kind of the problem yesterday late in the Xfinity race. Nobody really was wanting to go with Austin Hill, who was making the bottom work seemingly by himself at times. With this aero package for the Cup Series may not be the case. Surprised it is as calm of a start as it is as well, because there is rain on the way. So we could only be racing to the halfway point here tonight. I haven't mentioned that yet today, but again, an 80% chance of rain later this evening for this NASCAR Cup Series race. So we could be racing to halfway, which would be the official end time to this race. Stage 2 a little longer than Stage 1, so lap 130 would be the halfway mark in this 260 lap 400-mile race. But we should get this thing in one way or another. Will we get the full 400 miles in? Not sure. If we have any lengthy rain delays, we will stay live right here on the channel throughout the course of the night. Almirola's last average speed for that lap time was 182.183 miles per hour, and he was leading the pack, so that is really, really quick. And those top 5 Fords, again, kind of pulling away from everybody else, still jockeying for position from 6th on back behind Austin Cindric. Truex has now jumped into the top 5 right behind Kyle Larson as well, towards the front of the field. So he's coming from just outside the top 10 starting position, trying to get himself a little bit further running in the order. He is the top Toyota in the field. And the only other one in the top 10 as of right now is actually Reddick and Gibbs, so a few of them in the top 10. William Byron has moved up to the 8th place position since the restart as well, trying to catch up to his teammate Kyle Larson, who still sits in 4th for right now. Lap 29 in this race.
A lot of time to plan. It's very reactionary.
It is breathtaking to watch these cars work their way through the turns at such incredible speeds. Martin Truex Jr. trying to get by the 2 of Austin Cindric. The momentum continuing. Almirola, Logano, Blaney, Larson, Truex Jr., top 5. Cindric, Reddick, Byron, Briscoe, and Gibbs, the top 10. Looking back.
Almost halfway through Stage 1 now. Lap 30 of Lap 60. Top 10 receive stage points, 1 through 10. 1 point for 10th, all the way up to 10 points for first for the regular season standings, and a playoff point which carries over through every round of the playoffs for the stage winner. Kyle Larson with his teammate William Byron trying to get that bottom lane to work. Only 2 cars, but he has gotten to the inside of Martin Truex Jr., although on the front stretch he's going to lose a little bit more ground with the lack of drafting help in that area of the racetrack. Joey Logano moving off the top just a little bit may help Kyle Larson a slight more in the corners, plus taking the shortest way around the track. Larson going to have to be a little bit more aggressive with the side draft on the straightaways. He wasn't with Truex, but he was with Cindric, so the 2-car could not clear the 5 that last time down the back. Truex a little wider in the center of the corner. Looked like he got tight behind the 12 car of Ryan Blaney. Maybe feather the throttle a bit more. A lot easier for Larson on the bottom with no drivers in front of him to at least be able to hold full throttle. He's not as fast in the middle of the corner as well because he's not catching any draft there. And Byron not really close enough to give him a push on these straightaways as well. He's close enough behind him to try to keep the draft up, but he just isn't able to actually bump draft him. Kyle Larson hopped in line between the two in the 19 a bit that time on the backstretch, went back to the bottom to pick up his teammate Byron once again, and he's going to squeeze back to the top in front of Cindric again, and this is going to hang the 24 out to dry as Tyler Reddick in the 45 will get by the 24 of Byron, who is going to fall in line in the outside lane behind him right around 9th place. And now Cindric gets shuffled off the top lane of the track as Reddick will get to the outside of the two, and now Cindric's going to get hung out. He'll fall behind the 24 car of Byron in the 9th place position. So Willie B got one of those spots back very quickly after he followed Tyler Reddick to get by the 2. The 2 back in line though in front of the 14 and single file through about the top 15 plus cars now in the field as we train race in the middle portion of stage 1. Top 10 right now, Eric Almirola, your race leader, Joey Logano 2nd, Ryan Blaney 3rd, Martin Truex Jr. 4th, Kyle Larson 5th, Tyler Reddick in 6th, Austin Cindric 7th, William Byron 8th, Chase Briscoe 9th, and Christopher Bell rounds out the top 10. More position changing going on outside the top 10 right around Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, 13th, 14th, 15th area of the racetrack. Denny Hamlin also in the mix back there, AJ Allmendinger. But those front cars on the top 10 trying to stay organized. The Chevys of Larson and Byron were trying to get up there, but they're the only 2 Chevys in the top 14 right now, so they had no help from the Toyotas and the Fords, who seem to be in a cohesion with one another here in the early going, which we typically see on the super speedways when it comes to pit stops during green flag conditions. We won't see as many here today with it being a 400-mile race. Typically, we see 500-mile races with super speedways, but not here tonight at Atlanta. 400 miles, and with the stage breaks the way they are, we are only really we're not guaranteed any stage, or I should say not guaranteed any green flag pit stops, but we are capable of having as many as 2 throughout the course of the action. Full screen commercial break now, lap 35, 25 to go in stage 1. We'll go through the full field running order once again here while we're waiting for them to come back from the break. Eric Almirola has a 10th of a second lead over Joey Logano in 2nd. Again, Ryan Blaney 3rd, Martin Truex Jr. 4th, Kyle Larson in 5th. Tyler Reddick is in 6th place. Make that 6th place is Austin Cindric. Tyler Reddick now in 7th. William Byron in 8th. Christopher Bell 9th. And Chase Briscoe is up to 10th place. Ty Gibbs in 11th. Michael McDowell 12th. AJ Allmendinger 13th. Denny Hamlin 14th. Todd Gilliland in 15th. Chase Elliott 16th. Brad Keselowski 17th. Bubba Wallace 18th. Justin Haley 19th. And Alex Bowman in 20th. Chris Buescher in 21st, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 22nd, Daniel Suarez 23rd, Ryan Preece 24th, and Eric Jones is 25th. Kyle Busch back at 26th, surprisingly. Kevin Harvick fell all the way back to 27th after starting in 6th. Austin Dillon 28th, Ross Chastain 29th, Corey LaJoie 30th. B.J. McLeod 31st, Ty Dillon 32nd, Noah Gragson 33rd, J.J. Haley 34th, Austin Hill 35th, Cole Custer 36th, and Harrison Burton 4 laps down after that spin and was beached on the backstretch, had to get pulled back to pit road by a tow truck, and that's why he lost as many laps as he did, but he is still in the race, and he's the only car not on the lead lap. 115 people watching right now, 90 likes on the stream already. Appreciate that. Hopefully we get the full 400 miles in today's race. If we do, our goal is to get to 200 likes. We're almost halfway there. We're not even at the end of stage 1 yet, so again, greatly appreciate that. We'll take our first break of the race, and then I'll let you listen to some more of the broadcast here late in stage 2. Tim Brown, thanks for tuning in also. Nathan Smith, welcome to the stream. Mr. Cray Cray 123, welcome in. Joanne C, True Assassin 86X, God Rides Harley, thanks for tuning in. We had that first caution during that commercial break earlier in the stage. Still under green flag conditions right now. Looks like about 19 laps to go. Should be coming back any second. And they are back right now, so here you go.
You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
Great view from up above. Aero coverage brought to you by Pods. Moving this summer, save up to 30% at pods.com today. Eric Almirola, it looked like he was going to lose the lead. He had moved down the racetrack. Logano looked as though he was going to try to take the spot away. But it is still Almirola out front. Logano has been tagged as leading a lap, so he did get credit.
He went right around him, Rick, and we thought the 10 might be handling bad, the handling going away. But he drives right back into the lead to take that spot. Let's take a look at it right here. Down. See the push that the 22 is going to get from his teammate? When he pushes him down in the corner, he's like, it's a good run. Here we go. We'll take this one. To the bottom, the side draft slows the 10. But this push the 10 gets from the same number 12 car is going to give him that opportunity to create a run down the next straightaway, back into the lead. 10 was not fine, just sitting there running in second place and following the 22. He wants to be out front.
And Junior, I think that's what makes Atlanta so different than Daytona and Talladega. You obviously mastered both of those places, but I don't remember being able to lose a lead and then get a run in really a half a lap. Normally it takes a little more time to get the momentum going back forward.
Yeah, this is Daytona from the late 90s, early 2000s. That's what this reminds me of, where handling does matter. It's a little bit single file. You have to decide when you're going to make your move. If you make your move and you can't clear the guy in front of you, they're going to pile up on you on the outside. And this really is very reminiscent of that time that we used to have at Daytona. Dave.
Jeff, you guys mentioned the urgency with severe weather possibly in the area. Well, Eric Almirola has done the work so far. Great track position because of the pole position he got yesterday. That put him in control of this race from the start. The only lap he hasn't led was that one where Logano passed the start-finish line before him. So he has to stay out there. Logano's already in because he won in March at this track. Eric Almirola is way out in the points. He needs a win to get in the playoffs, Marty.
Dave, other than that one move, Joey Logano has been content to ride behind Eric Almirola. What's he saying about his car? Listen in.
I have air on the nose, it's loose. If I get really close to him, I get tight. So with the air tight, but I'm mechanically loose. What do you think about running lower down the front stretch to help the bottom lane?
So, Jeff, help me understand that. If this high lane is working so well and these Fords are able to train up and run away from everybody else, why would Logano want to work the low lane and help those behind him?
Well, I think what he's thinking is just if everybody went to the low lane, would their cars drive better? Would the car just handle better on the bottom? And I think he just wants to try it and try to learn for later in the race. He knows that he can't go down there by himself. You can see right here the 45, black car on the bottom. He's trying to make a run. Reddick, let's see if he can find a hole. He couldn't make a run, but there he piles back in and gets in front of the 20 of Bell. That's what tonight's going to be about. Go down there and see if you can make a run. If you can get a run and clear a guy, go for it. If not, you might lose a lot of spots.
Well, let's take a look at the progressive telemetry, starting with the 10 of Eric Almirola. Again, out front, 180 miles an hour. Well, not out front any longer. Once again, we see Logano get by him.
Well, when we jumped to it, he was a little off the throttle. Now back in second. You see full green, fifth gear. Man, he turns left.
I don't think he makes his pass, though. Not a big enough run.
He's going to be done.
Obviously, the 12 is going to help his teammate, the 22 on the outside. The 10's going back to third, if not fourth place behind Larson here.
And he might fall further back if there's not a hole that he can jump into and no help.
And every driver sees it. Every driver. Look at Truex. He sees it. He wants to get to that 5 of Larson to hang out that 10 car. There he goes.
10 tried to get in that hole, just closed up before he could. Now he's back to fighting on the bottom, trying to figure out a way to accomplish something all on his own. That outside line adds more and more cars, though, as he runs side by side and slows down the 5, slows down to 19. That adds more cars to the back of that line. That's more positions he can lose. Eventually, you just got to say, okay, I'm going to find the hole that I can get in and get in it, right? Lose a couple spots, that's fine, but he's going to sit down here and fight. Squeezes in there.
He forced his way in front of the 45.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. I think everybody's going to be more and more aggressive. Here comes the 45 to the top.
Whoa.
Almost in the fence. Reddick Now 3 wide on the bottom. Christopher Bell around both cars. Can he clear them?
Almirola continuing to drop back. Bell does clear the 45. He's sideways. He's able to catch it.
What a save. Wow. That was insane.
That was a wreck. That was a wreck. I mean, he left tire tracks at 175 miles an hour.
They might not be done. Look at how it's stacked up this whole field right here.
And nobody wanting to give an inch now with under 10 laps to go in stage 1.
That was awesome.
Almirola has fallen back. Now he's on the front bumper of the 16 of Allmendinger. Take another look at what happened.
That was Almirola trying to fill that hole, and then on the front straight, Bell coming up. Oh, the 2 gets in the right rear quarter panel. That was an incredible save.
I'm going to tell you what. Whew. I mean, how long did it take you to catch your breath? I haven't caught my breath. I wasn't driving.
Look at the 20. Christopher Bell's come from the back of the field. He had an issue in inspection. Driving this car all the way to the front. I don't really think he's doing it with a ton of help either. The car's handling so well running around the bottom of this racetrack. He's taking big runs and doing a lot with them.
A little bit of side drafting there as well as he tries to slow the cars down beside him.
Got some good help coming now with the 34 McDowell back there. Now the 10 Almirola's back in this. A.J. Allmendinger, look at the 19 Truex to the bottom. Had it run, the 5 lifted.
Now don't get greedy. Now don't get greedy. Get behind the 12. He didn't do it.
2 by 2 for second, and a big push coming from the 5. That's going to push that 12 a little bit further forward to get to the back bumper, the 22 of Logano, under 7 to go.
I think Truex thought maybe this time I can be greedy because he sees that 20, but the 20, his teammate's going to bail on him. He's trying to back in and let Truex in. He's trying to back up, allow Truex to have that spot. Truex is still going to stay fighting on the bottom. Man, it's fun to watch these guys make these decisions. To take the run, not take the run. To take the hole or not. Truex now, will he regret not pulling in front of that 20 car?
We'll see if the 34 of Michael McDowell can get to his back bumper. He's been very strong here at Atlanta early in this one.
S.C. Bell maybe should have gotten down there behind the 19 guys and helped push his teammate. He's going to create another hole there, right there. Lets him in. Coming to the end of this stage, maybe a smart move.
Look at the run by McDowell in the 34. Moves up, fighting for the 3rd spot now. And he hasn't had a lot of help.
He's a great restricted plate racer, great at the drafting. We don't call him really restricted plate tracks anymore, but he's had a lot of great success at these places, knowing how to side draft.
Keep doing what you're doing, man. It looks good.
Knowing what to do with the runs he gets. Look at him. Squeeze up against those cars on the outside, sort of slows them down a little bit until the help comes from the 10 car, gets a push down into 3. He's going to drive up beside the 5 right here. You see the fire coming out of the pipes. All of these guys lift up a little bit. Almost 3 wide back here now. Byron in the middle. Is there enough room?
William Byron was in the middle, and U-Car's cautiously dropping out of that 3 wide situation.
You see McDowell, he just keeps working on that bottom, able to make up ground in the corners. Then on the straight, they all push each other down the back straightaway. Now he's got a little bit of help.
5-0 going to the bottom.
Larson to the inside for the race lead as they come up to 3 laps to go in stage 1. Gets by the 12, side by side with the 22. Logano leads that lap at the line, but Larson doesn't have a lot of help. Michael McDowell's about 4 or 5 car lengths behind the 5 car on the inside. Logano clear for the race lead in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Ryan Blaney going to get help now from Martin Truex Jr., who is 2nd and 3rd on the outside. 3 wide, further back, almost banging fenders is the 2 and the 24. Blaney leaves his teammate out to dry now going into turns 3 and 4. He'll clear Logano for the race lead coming up on 2 to go in stage 1. Larson clears the 19 with a block off turn 4, gets to 3rd, looking to get the push now from Truex as they head towards turn 1. Austin Cindric now to the inside of Michael McDowell, running for about the 6th place position. Blaney moves off the top, down to the bottom to block Larson, who makes a move simultaneously on Logano for P2. Down the backstretch, Logano gets a push. Into the back of the 12, he didn't duck to the bottom of the 5, was still there at the time when he got to Blaney's back bumper. Maybe going to look to the outside. Logano's car got a bit loose in the middle of the corner, stays in the throttle, drives out of it. 1 lap to go in stage 1. Logano all over Blaney. Pushed him and then still made the move to the inside. Blaney chases him to that double white line to side draft off the right rear corner panel and make sure the 22 won't clear him. They're still door-to-door now down the backstretch. Blaney gonna get the run as they drag race for turn 3. Larson to the bottom of the track, goes 3 wide for the race lead down to the bottom. He clears Logano, gets to the inside of Blaney. Off of turn 4 for the stage 1 victory. Larson not clear. Blaney gets the run. Last-ditch effort. Ryan Blaney by inches will win stage 1 at Atlanta. Kyle Larson second, Martin Truex Jr. third, Joey Logano fourth, and William Byron will round out the top 5 in the first stage. 6th place was Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric 7th, Michael McDowell 8th, Tyler Reddick 9th, and Eric Almirola scored in 10th. All receiving stage points through the first 60 laps of tonight's race. A thrilling finish to the end of stage 1 over those last 10 to 15 laps. Blaney by inches. What a move by Larson, 3 wide. Logano almost blocked him too much down to that double white line, just squeezed underneath him, and by less than half a car like the 12 edges out the 5 when they got back to the line. So Blaney will get a stage win here today, and that will be his 3rd stage win of the season. And I believe both of his other 2 stage wins came in the Coca-Cola 600 this season. So this is his first stage win on a super speedway this year. But 3rd on a mile and a half, technically, when we go to total distance of the racetrack. 99 likes through stage 1. Just about 150 concurrent viewers watching. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Once again, like, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We'll have our first pit stops of the races. All 35 cars on the lead lap will be on their way in this time by. Harrison Burt will get one of those 4 laps back with the stage caution coming out. And a thrilling race so far through stage 1, especially those final 10 to 15 laps of the stage. All heck broke loose. Saw a couple near wrecks that didn't happen, fortunately enough. And Larson looking quick. What a dive bomb he made. He went 3 wide for the lead, and I thought he lost the momentum when Joey tried to throw the block on him, and there was enough side draft there, but that wasn't the case. And he still got to the inside of the 12, and he actually was about a half a car length in front of Blaney off of turn 4, but Blaney just had too big of a run off the outside and was able to beat him back to the line. Blaney didn't have a lot of help behind him off the exit of the corner, but just having that run off the top side of the racetrack with more banking and was able to manipulate the side draft on the right side of Larson's car perfect enough to be able to get that win. Bug6 for tuning in also. Well, my pick wins stage 1. He's got 2 more stages to go, but again, this could be a shortened race with potential inclement weather on the way, so we'll keep an eye on that as we get into the second stage again, though we have to get to lap 130 to get to the halfway mark. Showed a replay of Larson going down to that double white line. Now, he was on it when he was side-by-side with Logano. I don't know if he actually advanced his position, though, while he was on the line. Logano threw a block, but he did give the 5 some room. I'll let you listen in to see what the official wording is.
Great move. You got like 16 inches, right? Don't go anymore, right? So now we see the field all come to pit road. Could be a little jumbled up here. Remember, half the field pitted about 40 laps ago. Why does that matter? As we see this very long pit road around 3 and 4. Those guys that pitted need less fuel. When they get done changing tires, they'll just drop the jack and leave. Guys that haven't pitted yet, like Blaney, Larson, Truex at the front, they're going to have to probably wait to get the fuel full, even though the tires are already done being changed.
And Steve, you told me that the fuel window is going to be between 67 and 73, so they probably can't get all the way to the end of stage 2. We'll go to pit stops and Kim.
Kyle Larson at the top of your screen. He said, I'm tight running behind people, low entry. Cliff Daniels said, how tight? He said, a 7, but it gets better as I got cleaner air. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel. They're waiting on the call for that fuel, Marty.
Joey Logano told Paul Wolfe, every time I try to make a move, I am absolutely sideways. You have to tighten me up. And to Steve's point, they're going to have to hold him for a little bit to make sure they get it full of fuel, Dave.
Ryan Blaney is in the playoffs by a Charlotte 600 win, and now waiting on fuel. He's going to be a little bit slow on that, but shy on playoff points. He gets one here. He will not be first going off that road.
19 has to...
Martin Truex Jr. had spun on pit road. He was in the top 5 at the end of the first stage, and he's going to lose almost all of his track position. Couple 2-tire stops. Daniel Suarez gains 15 positions on pit road. One of the few that took 2 tires, right sides only there, to leapfrog nearly half the field. Looked like contact with the Joe Gibbs Racing teammate of Truex's, Christopher Bell, is who got into him at the time of that caution. So Christopher Bell making contact with Truex on pit road, and I believe it was after Truex already left his box. That's why he was able to just kind of whip back around and run to the exit of pit road. But almost every car off of pit road beat the 19 by the time he had to wait for the field to rush by and then correct himself in the pit lane. Kyle Larson wins the race out of the pits. Blaney was second, Byron third, and then Suarez took 2 tires. I believe Ryan Preece also took 2 tires and is now up to 9th place, as we see on our leaderboard. It is all ready to go. So your top 5 off of pit road that time: Kyle Larson, followed by Ryan Blaney in second, William Byron third, Daniel Suarez fourth, and Christopher Bell in 5th. And Truex was side by side with Bell on pit road until that spin, unfortunately. So tough break for Truex. I almost wonder if he was coming out of the box too far wide and then got into the 20 and lost control, because it didn't look like the 20 moved. He was hugged up next to the grass. Camp Pass level 1665 Candy Crush. Thanks for tuning in. The I next to JJ Yeley means that he's not running full-time in the Cup Series. It's also why you see that next to Cole Custer's name. And then the hashtag next to a name means they're a rookie, so Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs will have the hashtags. Cole Custer running for points in the Xfinity Series full-time this year at Stewart-Haas Racing in the 00. He is running the 51 for Rick Ware Racing tonight, and of course the 15 for Yaley, also a Rick Ware Racing entry. Up to 108 likes already. I really hope we get this full race, and we might end up at 300 likes at this rate. We haven't even started stage 2 yet. We're already over 100, so we're past halfway to our goal. I thought the goal stretch was going to be 200, and that was going to be difficult to get to, but you guys are making this way easier than it needs to be, so I very much appreciate each and every one of you guys that is watching this live stream, watches more often than not here on these NASCAR race weekends. Again, you can follow along all season, flag to flag coverage of the NASCAR Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series races right here on this YouTube channel. So for that and then more content during the week, NASCAR oriented, be sure to again subscribe. We're on the road to 5,000 subs, and hopefully we can get there sooner rather than later. Kyle Lance, also welcome into the stream. Hasselhoff 2001 says, will Chevys up front, or will be all Chevys up front towards the end? That's a bold prediction. The Fords are looking quick. They're not controlling the race as much as they were. Well, I guess they still kind of are. I mean, Larson won the race out of the pits, and Blaney did win the stage in a Ford. He was my pick to win tonight's race. As far as the Fords in the top 10, it looks like there's 6 of them. And then 4 Chevys. The highest Toyota in the running order is Tyler Reddick in 12th. And then Bubba Wallace in 17th. So the Toyotas went backwards. I think Christopher Bell was nabbed for speeding on pit road, so he is going to be at the rear of the field for the start of tonight's, for the restart here to stage 2. He did start back there at the beginning of the race and worked his way up into the top 5, but now he's going to have to do it again. And yeah, right back there with the guy he made contact with and spun on pit road, which was Martin Truex Jr. So again, Bell speeding. He is at the back of the field, and Martin Truex Jr. had that spin on pit road. So those are the only 2 drivers really that did not get off of pit road very well of those that were in the top 10 initially. So no Toyotas in the top 11 on the restart. Kyle Larson elects the outside lane this time. Ryan Blaney on the inside. Green flag is in the air, and we're back to racing at Atlanta. Lap 67 officially. Denny Hamlin also had a pit road penalty, so 3 Toyotas to the rear of the field for the restart. We'll get to see all 3 Joe Gibbs Toyotas trying to work together here to try to work their way back to the front. They might not have a lot of time if the rain shortens this race, so they got to go, and it'll be interesting if the aggression at the front of the field will pick up Blaney on the bottom lane that time, almost clear of Kyle Larson. Might have had a chance to move up on the backstretch, but he stayed on the bottom as he's got both of his teammates of Joey Logano and Austin Cindric behind him. Blaney is now going to lose his teammate Logano there briefly, who went to the top in between the Chevys on the outside of Suarez and Larson. Back to the bottom, though, in the middle of the corner, and Blaney is going to be clear as he tries to control both lanes off turn 2 at lap 68. Down the backstretch, stays on the bottom. In fact, actually stayed on the double yellow line, which was out of the draft for both lanes. They could not get a big run on him that time as a result, as they were side drafting each other a little too much. Joey Logano still staying pretty tightly on the door of the 5 car all the way through the front stretch. He's going to bottleneck quite a few cars up in the lanes behind them. Suarez had a big run on the top. Tyler Reddick, speaking of going to the top, will go 3 wide on Chris Buescher in the 17 car in that second lane. Decided just to hop back into the middle lane in the center of the corner instead, and decided at last not to go 3 wide in that situation. Logano clear of Larson for second in the middle of the corner. Ford's trying to take control again like they did for most of the spring race in most of stage 1. If Cindric can pull clear, I'm sure all 3 will move to the outside.
He drifted up in the middle of 3 and 4th, and I think he's trying to tell Blaney, look, if you want to get up here in front of this 5, slow down that outside line, we can do it. We'll be leaving our other teammate. But you also watch the car behind you and see what they're doing, because with their body language, we're 3 wide for 3rd place, guys. The 48 on the inside now, Bowman.
Justin Haley in that 31 car. He's such a good driver on drafting type racetracks. Had a great run last week, almost won the race in Chicago. Here we see him again up front.
Very tight racing, 3 wide for about 4th place between Cindric and Larson. Not a lot of room for Larson. Barely keeps it off the wall off turn 2. Bubba Wallace is on the inside with a quick charge. Where did he come from? I just mentioned there was no Toyotas in the top 10 on the restart. I think he was 17th. He has gone from 17th to 7th in about 4 laps since the restart, working his way forward. Now is 3 wide on the bottom. He doesn't have any teammates around him, so it's going to be difficult for anybody to want to go with him, but I would assume he's going to be quick. Seems to be on the super speedways quite often. Is that 23 Toyota, and he continues to press forward. He does have a fast car behind him of Chris Buescher in the 17 for RFK as well. And Kyle Busch, who was 20th or worse for most of stage 1, is also working his way forward in that bottom lane as he's trying to break clear of the 41 car of Ryan Preece, who was side drafting him pretty heavily through that last turn. Big loss of momentum for Alex Bowman in the bottom lane. He's getting a push now from Justin Haley to get that momentum back up again. All 3 Penske cars clear at the front of the field. Cindric moved from the top to the bottom to cover the 48. And now the 5 of Kyle Larson will get by the 2 back to the outside, but in front of the 17 and not the 5. So Larson has broken up at least a couple of the Penske cars there. Cindric back to the inside of the 5 car again in turns 3 and 4. And they're door-to-door at the start-finish line for 3rd, while the top 2 are the 12 and the 22 once again at the front of the field. Logano has led the most laps in this race, Eric Almirola has led the most laps in this race with 47. Logano has led the same amount of laps as Ryan Blaney at the front. Blaney's forefront, of course, that last lap or 2 of stage 1, and then pretty much every lap here of stage 2 he has led outside of the caution laps after Larson won the race out of the pits. But mostly single file for that first stage up until 15 to go in the stage, and double file pretty much all the way through the field outside of the top 2. And Logano's really just trying to control the lanes right now. Cindric, when he gets clear, is trying to do the same. He's not having as good of a job of being able to do so as Logano. I think Cindric's car is fast enough that when he gets side by side with the 5, it's very difficult for the 5 to be able to pull clear. Not sure that he has quite as quick of a car to compete with those ones above him in the running order. As of right now, he's going to need more help along the way, but still a long ways to go if we do make it to the scheduled distance, as we're still at 185 laps remaining.
Thought better of it as Buescher now is closing the gap between the 5 and himself.
Yeah, when the Fords jumped up to that top line, he panicked. He's like, all right, I'm getting ready to get left down here by myself. The 99 leaves him.
You heard a driver complaining about being really loose. We're hearing that a lot from drivers. See Bowman saying, okay, enough with this bottom. I'm going to jump up into this top lane. But a lot of drivers having trouble keeping the back of their cars underneath them.
There's Kyle Busch. He's got Justin Haley just in front of him in the 31. We'll see if Busch is able to give that.
Drivers have been dealing with loose conditions this weekend in both races we've seen, and that's in the nighttime skies. Could you imagine how much looser they'd be if it was daytime conditions? Track temps have probably cooled off probably 20 to 30 degrees, if not more, during the race time right now versus what we may have seen if they ran this one at about 2, 3 o'clock like the usual Eastern Standard start times for the NASCAR Cup Series afternoon races. As far as this race right now goes, Ryan Blaney leads, Joey Logano 10th of a second back in second, Austin Cindric third, 2/10 of a second back, 4/10 back is Alex Bowman in fourth, and Kyle Larson's at fifth at a half a second off the lead. Top 5 or 6 cars single file, still double wide pretty much all the way through the field behind them. Bowman actually pulling out of line to get by the 5 car of Kyle Larson that time, pulls back in front of him, so he made one pass. We'll see if Bowman's got maybe a slightly quicker car than Larson, even though they are the same team at Hendrick Motorsports. Maybe they can work together a little more to try to team up to get by the Penske Fords at the front. It'd still be outnumbered right now as they have 3 cars up there versus the 2. As the field rolls into turns 3 and 4. Big run on the bottom lane for Daniel Suarez in the 99. Gets to the inside of Chris Buescher in the 17. Which would be for about 6th place. And that charge on the outside just so strong on the straightaways. They get off the exit corners very well. Caution is out. The 24 car is spinning in the middle of the corner. Turns 1 and 2. Not sure how that started, but William Byron is around, and that will bring out just our 3rd caution of the day and our 2nd for incident, not including that stage 1 break that we had at lap 60. It does look like he flat spotted the right rear tire. Hopefully that does not tear apart that right rear fender. There's quite a bit of that tire carcass coming off right now as he's trying to go all the way around the racetrack. He's got about a full mile to lift that thing back to pit road. Again, in the middle of turns 1 and 2 is where Byron lost it, but nobody else collected. So again, under caution for the 2nd time in tonight's race. Looked like he got hit from behind. Middle of the front stretch is where he actually took the slide. Corey LaJoie got into the back of the 7. He was probably just trying to bump draft him, and oh no, he did not hit him square. Never mind. It looked like LaJoie tried to squeeze in line between the 24 and I believe that was the 11 of Denny Hamlin he moved up in front of. And I don't think that there was well, there definitely wasn't enough room because he turned Byron down the racetrack. Luckily, Byron didn't head for that inside wall, so no major damage on his car, very similar to that of Harrison Burton earlier when he spun off turn 2. The difference is here there was contact that caused it. Again, William Byron getting hooked in the left rear by Corey LaJoie. It, to me, looked like LaJoie tried to hop up in line behind Byron and mistimed it and just hooked him. Because he definitely moved up in the middle of the front stretch, just right at about the start-finish line where that spin took place. I'm sure Byron not very happy. Finally has gotten his car back to pit road. Had to drive very slow just to make sure that that fender wasn't going to completely come off. Tire's not all the way down on the rim, so I don't think there's going to be very much damage to the underbody of the race car or any of the suspension in the rear. And they should be able to get the jack underneath it, which will help this pit stop out quite a bit as far as the length of stop. And they should get the 24 car back out there again before the leaders can get back around. They've changed right side tires. Looks like they're just going to go ahead and change all 4 now to the left sides. Just trying to make sure Byron beats the pace car back onto the racetrack so he doesn't lose a lap here. No major damage. They're not going to have to pull out any fenders, it looks like. So all seems to be good for Byron. And it looks like he is going to be a lap down, unfortunately. So Byron did lose a lap. Late call to take those left side tires on. And they're still working on the right rear, so maybe there was more damage than what I assumed that there was going to be. Around the right rear of the race car, going to top off on fuel, and he's out and away. Shouldn't have to worry about a toe link issue because he didn't bash the right rear tire against anything. And it looks like the rest of the leaders on their way to pit road. A couple staying out in the middle of the pack, but a lot of them going to top off just in case this race gets range shortened. They want to be able to have enough fuel to make it as far as they can as a result, but some drivers electing to take track position that maybe they haven't had yet today.
Once again,
could break up the Fords at the front of the field a little bit
probably multiple plans. Some gas only, some 4 tires, some 2 tires. So very important to communicate in and out. We saw the 19 get spun around the last time, Kim. Hopefully a little bit cleaner entry and exit for these drivers.
Yeah, and all the crew chiefs reminding their drivers to be very smooth. They cannot afford to lose positions, especially with the weather possibly coming. The 48th, though, of Alex Bowman, you see him at the top there. He said, I am way too free entry to center. It is going to be fuel only. They'll take a tear off there, Marty.
Early days of that run, but Joey Logano liked what Paul Wolfe did last time. And look how far back in the box Logano is for that fuel-only stop, just to make sure he has a clean exit, Dave.
Blaney comes in, fuel only as well. The Goodyear tires stay on the wall. He leaves.
Bowman almost got shoved into the grass by Cindric, leaving his box a little wide. Top three were all Penske leaving the pits. Mostly fuel-only stops. Few drivers taking 4 tires, but most of those drivers that took 4 tires were already in the back half of the field anyway, so they're going for grip, knowing that they weren't going to gain much time going fuel-only, considering most of the field ahead of them did do that. A couple other shout-outs here quickly for those that are watching. Rails of El Paso, Texas, thanks for tuning into the stream. Brandon Schutz, thanks for tuning in. Schutz, maybe it's Schutz. Whatever it is, thank you. I'm doing great, by the way. I see you. Seth Thomas, thanks for tuning in. Do a fantastic job. I appreciate that, Nathan. Lunkers with Lucas, thanks for tuning in also. Yeah, it is free. Subscribe to the channel. You'll get a couple ads here and there. It's free. You don't get as many ads as an actual NASCAR race. There you go. And these ads are usually 5 to 15 seconds, and you can skip them if they're longer. So, you know, good for you guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. First race on the USA Network for the NASCAR Cup Series this season. Next weekend's race at New Hampshire, I do believe, is also on the USA Network. I don't think they have another race on the main NBC until they go to Indy, if I'm not mistaken, in August. So I think the next 4 or 5 races for the NASCAR Cup season are on USA Network. So if you're unable to watch, tune in for the summer months. Should have some good racing action here over the next few weeks. Again, go to a flat 1 mile short track, overgrown short track, if you will, next week with New Hampshire. The week after that, they head to the Tricky Triangle in the Poconos at the Pocono Raceway. Following that, they go to Richmond on a short track, 3/4 mile. Slick track, very bumpy. We're going to see a lot of tire wear in that one. Should be a lot of fun. We had some good races there with the next gen car so far. Probably the best short track race with the next gen car racetrack that we've seen so far since it's been introduced. And I think a lot of it is because of how abrasive that track is for these drivers. Very, very slick, especially with it being a day race in the summer, Richmond, Virginia in July. It's going to be very, very hot, very, very slick. Drivers are going to be pushed to the limits there on that short track there. And after that, they head to Michigan. That race I'm planning on going to. There's a chance I may be at Richmond the week before that as well, but I will still have live commentary for the Truck Series race. And then the Xfinity Series is also racing at Road America that weekend for a standalone event. So I do plan on doing live commentary for those 2 races, regardless if I go to Richmond for the Cup race or not. But definitely the next 3 race weekends, Truck Xfinity Cup, tune right here on the channel, have the coverage for you. Trucks are off next weekend, but they'll be racing again at Pocono in 2 weeks. We have 84 laps complete right now. A couple other drivers coming back down to top off on fuel once again. Toyota of Tyler Reddick is in. Chase Elliott also on to pit road. Unique scheme on Elliott's car this weekend. The Napa colors. Just over an hour into this race so far. Flying by, really. We've only had, again, 2 cautions per incident. Average race speed at 127.9 miles per hour to this point. That'll quicken up once again once we get back to green flag racing. Just a handful of caution laps. Quick cleanup cautions, too, with just 2 lazy spins. I guess there was debris from Byron's tire they had to go and pick up in that last incident. Eric Almirola is still in the most laps up to this point. 47 laps led. And again, Harrison Burton got another lap back. So 2 free passes for Burton. And he's gone from 4 laps down to 2 laps down. The problem is William Byron's a lap down after that tire issue now. So if we get another caution, the 24 will get the free pass, not the 21. So still a few cautions away from Burton getting back on the lead lap. I didn't think it was going to be possible for him really to get back on the lead lap today. I figured we'd have more cars go a lap down before then, but the way that these cautions have been kind of evenly spaced out, it's worked out well for him. Heading back to another double file restart front of the field, Martin Truex Jr., Bubba Wallace, couple Toyotas stayed out to try to beat the Fords. They're on the racetrack right now, and then also the 41 of Ryan Preece stayed out of the pit. So 3 cars stayed out. Everybody from 4th on back at least topped off on fuel, and they'll have about 20 extra laps in the 3 that stayed out of the pits if we do end up seeing green flag pit stops in Stage 2. And I don't believe everybody can make it on fuel to the end of the stage if it stays green, as we have 75 laps left in this 100 lap second stage. So 60 laps is stage 1, and then stages 2 and 3, each 100 laps. It'll be very borderline on these guys being able to make it that just pitted. The ones that did not pit definitely will not be able to make it on field to the end of the stage if we get to that point, depending on when the rain could get to the racetrack, if we do get rain at the racetrack. Hopefully it just misses to the south, but we'll see how it's going to work out. Door-to-door for the race lead between Truex and Wallace for these first lap and a half or so after the restart. Truex has now cleared the 23 car off of turn 4 and will pull to the outside of the racetrack. All the Fords still gridlocked behind them. A couple of those Penske cars, though, split up. Cindric has Blaney behind him, who is about 4th and 5th on the outside lane, but Logano is the 3rd car on the bottom. Probably going to have to get to the top. We'll see if Blaney will let him in. Blaney's holding a little bit of a gap between himself and then Ryan Preece and the 41 in front of him, but now that gap closes quickly in the backstretch. 3x3 into turn 3, further back in the pack around Ty Gibbs, Ross Chastain, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That's a dangerous top 3. That's a dangerous 3 wide right there. You just hear the names, and yeah, Gibbs, Chastain, and Stenhouse 3 wide on a super speedway. Talk about a hold your breath moment for everybody around them. They did make it, though. And they are back down to 2x2 very quickly, realizing that probably wasn't going to work out for very long. Alex Bowman quickly down to the inside, pulled up in front of the 17 of Buescher. A little contact further back in the pack around Gibbs. May have gotten into it with Stenhouse. Luckily, Chastain was able to get out of the way before that contact. Actually, it was Eric Jones. Squeezed Gibbs up into the outside wall up turn 2, trying to lane change from the bottom to the top. Just forced his way into a hole that wasn't there. And Bowman now to the inside of Truex for the race lead. Talk about a guy that would need a win to get into the playoffs. He doesn't need a win, but a win would go a long way and guarantee himself a spot in. Bubba Wallace on the bubble ahead of the cutoff line by 15 points into the day. Bowman minus 26, so it's a good battle here in the early going of stage 2. Bowman clear of the 23 car and up to second place. He has split the Toyotas up, but Wallace with the crossover down the front stretch will pull to the bottom lane of the racetrack. His teammate Truex will go down with him, and it looks like Wallace with a beautiful crossover move is going to be able to clear Bowman. Bowman did not get cleared yet. Now he is clear. Wallace waited quite a while before moving up. He probably, it worked out either way, so I guess didn't end up mattering. He had a chance to move up right away, chose until the last second to move up, probably just wanted to make sure he was clear first. Don't hesitate next time, because that is where we could potentially see wrecks. Got to be committed into that position. And that could have been someone on the spotter as well for not calling him clear high right away, but he got back in line behind the fellow Toyota. Chris Buescher to the front of the field, hasn't led a lap yet. It has Justin Haley in the 31 car behind him. Actually, 2 colleague cars. Both Haley and the 16 of AJ Allmendinger are down there. No Fords on the bottom right behind Chris Buescher, but no problem. Pulls alongside Truex, going to try to lead his first lap. Oh, big wreck! Kyle Larson is spun off turn 4. Couple cars sliding in the grass. It looks like Chase Briscoe is in it. And I believe the 62 of Austin Hill also slides. We are under caution for the 4th time, and it looked like for the most part the field had missed all 3 sliding cars. Larson was spinning in the middle of the racetrack, quickly gets to pit road, and they will try to keep him on the lead lap as he has flat spotted the right rear tire. It looks like a little bit of damage on the left rear of Hill's car. I think he might have a flat left rear. He did not make it to pit road. He's going to have to go the full way around the track, and this will get William Byron back on the lead lap with the free pass. Larson was running in the back half of the top 10. Had to lift when Cindric moved up in front of him, and when he lifted, the 43 of Eric Jones got into the back of him right off the exit of turn 4, spun Larson around. Did a great job keeping it basically in the same lane he was sliding in, and also a great job by everybody else behind him not getting collected, and was able to miss. That could have been a much bigger wreck than what it was, but a great job again by everybody making their way through. Bell into the back of Gibbs. Not very hard, but luckily it didn't turn the 54 car around when everybody was on the binders and trying to hold themselves up. So lap 93, and we are under caution once again.
Let's see a closer look at it. I thought Larson got a little bit sideways before the contact was made.
Here it is right here. I don't know. It's so hard to tell from that. But we keep hearing the drivers talk about being loose. And wouldn't surprise me that he was a little bit loose before the contact.
I thought the first look at it give us a really good shot of where the bumpers were and whether there was contact. But now we've got damage to the 5 car.
A little bit of damage on the right front.
Blew and has come apart and destroyed the hood. So here we go. So let's look at the 43 and the 5 back here on the right side of the screen.
The 5's out of the gas right there.
I think he got tight. I don't think it was a late move by Cindric.
Right
Looks like he got tight and lifted.
It just,
you can see the gap from the 2 car. It got bigger. And so that's clearly the 5 out of the gas, 2 driving away from him.
Got tight, got out of the gas, and got ran into.
Eric tried to give him a chance to save it, but Eric's going to get run over. Eric's going to get run over too if he's, out of gas too much. So you can't look in the mirror and be watching there, watching out front in the mirror at the same time. And this damage to the 5 is pretty severe.
A little confused about this damage, Steve. They were on pit road.
So we saw them pull directly into his pit box, and I think they put a new right rear tire on it because it was already flat. But I think the right front still had air in it, but was probably flat spotted very severely. And then rolling around, it finally exploded, and you see just a huge amount of damage, which is, the car was relatively clean until then. So you're going to take a look at it right here. I mean, this is going to show
that's just a big mistake by the pit crew then not to change that right front tire.
Debris up on the racetrack there too that they have to clear off.
I don't know why they would change the right rear but didn't change the right front with it.
Fender on there. I don't know what the air's going to do to that at full speed, but it don't look too bad.
No.
Steve, are they in jeopardy on the DVP, the clock? I mean, it's 8 minutes now for this race.
Yeah, I think you only have to be careful. They extended it a minute just because pit road is so long with the entry at the end of the backstretch. The teams get to see the DVP, damaged vehicle policy. It's basically a minimum amount of time, or basically a maximum amount of time you have to use. They get a feed from NASCAR on their laptop, so they'll count it down. Just got to be careful because it does take so much time. You see right here, the 19 of Truex, the 23 of Bubba Wallace. They entered pit road at the end of the backstretch. They're still rolling around the flat. So you burn a lot of time. This was the 2nd and 4th place car.
Kim.
And you see Martin Truex Jr. right there at the top. He said, in traffic, I'm aero tight, otherwise clean air. The car is very good. You see fuel only. Bubba Wallace there on the bottom left, changing 4 tires, grabbing Sunoco fuel. He said, I need to be 1 number freer just for momentum's sake, Dane. He said, I'm scrubbing off too much speed.
Chase Elliott is back on pit road. He pitted at the end of the pit cycle last time under caution. A miscommunication was voiced to him from crew chief Alan Gustafson as to why they didn't pit with the entire group. So they took right sides last time. This time they'll take 4 Goodyear tires, fill it up with Sunoco fuel because he was back there anyway. Now's a good time to get fresh ones and full of gas.
And so the 5 of Larson goes around right off the nose of the 43. Barrick Jones looking forward now from the 54. That was Ty Gibbs's view.
When you drive.
All right, so again, under caution for the 4th time in today's race. Officially lap 91 at the time of the incident between the 543, 14, and the 62. Only major damage was on Larson's right front after having the right front blow after he left pit road the first time. Crew changed right rear tire only. Sent him back out there. Didn't change the right front for whatever reason. You usually don't see teams change just 1 tire. And I don't think they're in a situation where they have to conserve sets with limited amounts, considering the fact that we've already seen fuel only and 2 tire stops to this point as well. So not quite sure exactly why they didn't change the right rear there. Plus, I mean, you would have 1 extra tire. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't make any sense. That was a bad move. They should have just changed both right sides anyway, and it was a big mistake on that 5 team. The pit crew and probably crew chief has a little bit to do with that. Definitely not Larson's fault there. Other than the fact that he was the cause of the spin, considering that he lifted in the middle of the corner and Eric Jones got in the back of him. But he probably lifted because he felt the car slipping out from underneath him at the same time, which we've seen a couple drivers deal with already today. We just haven't seen them in a giant pack exactly when we have seen those situations. So we haven't seen a multi-car spin like we did right there. But again, no major damage on a lot of cars, and Larson's got some around the right front, but they have bare bonded that car as well as they could, at least to pass this damaged vehicle policy clock. And then if he gets any more cautions, they'll probably still go to work on that car because it looks like they could maybe do a little bit better job trying to tape up that right front and help it aerodynamically. Because if it wasn't handling well before, it's definitely not going to be handling any better with the damage he's got right now. So the time of the caution, Chris Buescher has scored your race leader. Justin Haley is second. Alex Bowman third. A.J. Allmendinger in fourth. Joey Logano fifth. Ryan Preece in sixth place. Kevin Harvick seventh. Ryan Blaney eighth. Daniel Suarez ninth. And Austin Cindric is 10th. So that is your top 10. Lap 97 of 260 here tonight at Atlanta. And lap 37 of 100 entirely in the second stage.
Slush float, topped with ice cream and crunchy sugar crystals for a limited time only at Sonic. Sonic. Well, fans, download the official app of NASCAR. It allows you to follow race action with free live scoring. There's in-car cameras and radio broadcasts. You can also upgrade to premium for full access to driver audio channels and add free experience. Search NASCAR in your app store. Start free trial today.
It'll also allow you to adjust your fantasy team, and right now I'm in a bit of a quandary.
Yes.
Because I didn't expect some of these guys to have some issues, so need to all get going back normal again.
Get that garage driver out if you need to. Riding along with Hunt Brothers Pizza and Kevin Harvick. Those two have been paired up really for so long. Such a great combination between Harvick and Hunt Brothers Pizza.
I didn't set my fantasy team today, by the way.
So Rick, Steve and I had the conversation a moment ago. When do you tell your driver about the rain? Chris Gabehart chose this caution to tell Denny Hamlin. Listen.
I do not think we're going to the end of the race without getting wet, FYI. I think we're going to need to drive as far forward as we can here because the stage caution pit stop is going to set the running order for a short sprint. That's my prediction.
There you have it.
Yeah, what do you do with that information?
Drive to the front. He told you to drive to the front, Rick. Go to the front.
Aren't they trying to do that with every lap?
I thought it was clear direction by Chris to just drive to the front. I like that.
We'll see how they do. It'll be 62 laps to go in stage 2. Back up through the gears they go.
Green flag back in the air, lap 99 at the time of the green flag here in the second stage. Lap 39 in this second stage as well. Chris Buescher on the outside of the front row with Justin Haley to the bottom. Haley going to get a push from a fellow Chevy of Alex Bowman. There are some more Chevys up there, both colleague cars, and then Bowman and Suarez all in the top 10. The rest are Fords and the Toyotas again of Martin Truex Jr. and Bubba Wallace pitted during that last caution. So now the highest running Ford is in 14th, which is Ty Gibbs. Hamlin has come from the rear of the field on the last restart with Christopher Bell to now break inside the top 15 just behind Gibbs as well. So great run, and it definitely looks like that 20 car and the 11 have quite a bit of speed in today's race as they manipulate the draft in the middle of the pack very well also. Chris Buescher led that last lap at the start-finish line, which was the first lap following the restart, not by much over Justin Haley, who's still underneath, and Bowman tried to go to the bottom underneath Haley. He ended up not being able to do so. It was a good block by Haley, but it's going to break the momentum on the bottom. Ryan Preece went to the middle lane as soon as he saw the 48 move down. He didn't want to follow him, and they are still 3 wide on the front stretch as they try to get organized. In the sucker hole, as Darrell Waltrip would say, is where Ryan Preece is. Not a lot of help in that middle groove. Denny Hamlin will move to the middle following the draft of Ryan Preece and trying to move his way forward again. Preece is able to get back to the outside. Hamlin is going to move back down to the bottom. And he is the 4th car in lane on the inside right behind Kevin Harvick in the 4. Now Hamlin moves to the outside of the 4 car, still 3 wide, a little bit further back, right around where Corey LaJoie in the 7 and Eric Jones in the 43 car are just outside the top 10. LaJoie moves back to the outside of the racetrack. We are getting closer to halfway in this race, which would make it official if we see rain. We are only 28 laps away from the halfway mark, so the race is definitely heating up.
Excitement around Preece coming into the Cup Series, into this particular ride. No top 5s, no top 10s this year, but having a great run tonight. The 48 to the inside of Blaney for 4th.
Bowman looked so fast as he came through the turn. But now, Priest is going to move back by him on the outside.
Well, early in these runs, that's going to be open for you. New tires, a lot of grip. You better rip that bottom, make a lot of time. The question is, can you clear anybody to actually make a pass, or do you actually lose positions trying that?
And they're squeezing each other into that outside wall, trying to slow down the side draft. Getting more aggressive with that. Look at Corey LaJoie here, almost in the middle of a 3.
Reddick thought about going 3 wide to the outside, getting a little bit more clean air on the nose. Going to build up maybe a slight bit of a run to the back of Corey LaJoie to help himself out where he is at in the draft. So the Penske Fords, following the restart and then obviously the pit stops with a couple guys staying out. Some of those cars have pitted. The Coley car is still out there on the track though. Joey Logano is 3rd, Blaney is 4th, and Cindric is in 6th. So they're all still towards the front of the field, but they're not able to quite keep all those other manufacturers out of their way for the time being, with AJ up in 2nd for right now. Alex Bowman obviously contending as a Chevy as well up towards the front, has to have a really fast car. Denny Hamlin right in line behind the 48 already, following the restart as well as he works his way forward. 3 wide, very back of the pack right now as they still try to get organized right around Bubba Wallace, Noah Gragson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott in the mix. Haven't seen Elliott really up in the top half of the field much today. Not really with Kyle Busch either. I think he may have topped off on fuel during that last caution of that, or he has lost a bunch of positions since the restart, because I think he was closing in on the top 10 right before that last caution. A driver who is forcing his way closer to the top 10, who ran very well here in the Summer Atlanta race last season during the day, Corey LaJoie, up to 11th place after starting deep in the field after qualifying yesterday. Proving himself once again that this is maybe his best track on the schedule. 183 miles an hour lap averages, 184. Speeds are getting a bit quicker compared to what we saw at the start of the race today, considering that we are deeper into the night. Temperatures cooling with the rain on the way. The temperatures are probably cooling quite a bit as well. As the storm cell gets closer and closer, Bell loose off of turn 2. The car behind him got up into the outside wall. That was Eric Jones in the 43. No major damage on either car as we continue to stay green. Bell's going to get split 3 wide now with Gragson and the 43 car to his outside. The Legacy Motor Club cars making a sandwich out of Christopher Bell. Not sure what happened there. I mean, Bell was already in the outside lane, moved up across the front of the 43, and well, Bell didn't hit the wall, but Jones definitely did. Very quickly, the top probably 10 cars have gone single file. Justin Haley really fell back off this restart. He's now just outside the top 10, about to be passed by Keselowski for 12th. Brad hasn't really been in the top 10 at all yet today. His teammate, though, leads this race. So you know they've got speed, but maybe not enough help for Keselowski's sake versus Buescher's. Maybe not as fast on pit road when they need to be as well to maybe leapfrog some positions there also. So, again, moving closer to the halfway point as of right now, your top 5, Chris Buescher leads. AJ Allmendinger is in 2nd. Joey Logano is 3rd. Allmendinger 1/10 of a second off the lead. Logano 3/10 back. Ryan Blaney 4th is 4/10 back. And a half a second off the lead is Ryan Preece in 5th, against single file at the front of the field. Chastain with a late block to move into the outside after making a pass on the 54. Gibbs gave him a big push. Chastain back down to the bottom of the track again, trying to get underneath another car. Somebody just lifted right in front of him in that bottom lane. Might have been the 3 of Dillon. He did. Bell goes 3 wide to the inside, getting by both Dillon and Chastain, sliding way up the racetrack and back in line behind the 43 of Eric Jones in the middle of 3 and 4. 50 to go, stage 2. Going to be tight on the fuel window to the end of the stage right now, but teams may be racing the rain more so than racing the scheduled distance of the race, the way things are looking for right now. Big contact again off turn 2 with Gibbs and Chastain, as Chastain pulling up very late. Gibbs not going to let him in nicely, trying to keep that momentum up as he gives him another big shot that he's able to hold on to. Showing the camera off the front bumper of that 54 car. Kevin Harvick trying to lead that second group up there. Chastain wants to be the leader of this second group as he is going to slingshot down to the bottom and pull clear of Harvick now in the middle of the corner. Late move by Truex to get underneath of Ty Gibbs, it looks like. Austin Dillon going to try to follow. Kevin Harvick moves to the bottom in the center of the corner. That'll help Truex just a little bit. Gibbs got a little tight, almost into the wall. 3 wide in the front group now at the front of the field, right around Bowman, Cindric, and it looks like Keselowski, who is coming up through the field all of a sudden. Now that the pack has gotten bunched together again, he's starting to make moves, and he has broken into the top 10 for the first time tonight. Bad Brad up to P7. Bowman moves back a couple positions now, running around 7th or 8th as he battles Denny Hamlin side by side. NASCAR nonstop commercial break for right now. We'll go through the full field running order on lap 111 out of 260. Chris Buescher leads the race. AJ Allmendinger's in 2nd. Joey Logano 3rd. Ryan Blaney 4th. Austin Cindric in 5th. Ryan Preece in 6th. Brad Keselowski 7th. Denny Hamlin 8th. Tyler Reddick 9th. And Alex Bowman is in 10th. Corey LaJoie in 11th, Christopher Bell 12th, Justin Haley 13th, Eric Jones 14th, Todd Gilliland 15th. 16th is Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain 17th, Ty Gibbs 18th, Chase Elliott 19th, and Martin Truex Jr. in 30th. Kevin Harvick in, I got that wrong. 19th, Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs in 20th, not 30th. Noah Gragson in 21st, Austin Dillon 22nd, J.J. Yeley 23rd, William Byron 24th, Kyle Busch 25th, 26th is Kevin Harvick, Bubba Wallace 27th, Eric Almirola 28th, BJ McLeod 29th, and Michael McDowell 30th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 31st, Chase Briscoe 32nd, Cole Custer 33rd, 34th is Ty Dillon, and he is the last car on the lead lap. Kyle Larson is scored 2 to 3 laps down right now in 35th. To make that 3 laps down is Larson and Burton. Burton is in 35th place, Kyle Larson in 36th, and then Austin Hill out of the race in the 62 car. Is the only car out of the race taken out from that last incident. More 3 wide racing going on. We'll keep the coverage rolling on the other side of our break. You're listening live on KRC to the Quaker State 400 for the NASCAR Cup Series at Atlanta. Be sure to vote in the chat for who you think will win today's race if you haven't yet. Your vote is between Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson. Larson, that incident, it's going to be very tough for him to get back up there. But if you don't think any of those 3 will win, you can vote for other as well. We will close that poll early in Stage 3. I didn't have it up at the very start of the race, so I will leave it open a little bit later than what I usually do. I usually close it right at the end of Stage 2, but I'll leave it open till probably around 70 or 80 to go in the race. So definitely vote if you haven't yet. We got about 81 to 82 votes as of me reading that poll for right now. Other shout-outs during this commercial break for newcomers into the chat recently. Hopeful, thanks for tuning in. Rowdy. That might be it. As far as newcomers that have joined the chat, 120 likes on the stream. Our goal is 200 tonight. Got 80 more to get to that goal. We still have a little over half the race to go if we get to the full distance, so appreciate that, everybody. Let's make this the most liked race on the season. Daytona 500, 253. It's a tough number to beat, but we'll see if we can make this the most liked stream on the year. Rain definitely moving in closer. Hopefully no lightning in the area, so that way we don't have to delay this race before the rain gets there. Looks like it's about 30 miles out from Atlanta Motor Speedway right now. We're only 10 laps away from halfway to potentially make it official if we do end up getting rain. And that is why there's a lot of 2 and 3 wide racing going on towards the front of the field. Still 40 to go in this stage, so we are not guaranteed a caution necessarily for a little bit yet. Aggressiveness has picked up a ton. Cindric moves back into the top 5 right behind his teammate Ryan Blaney to 5th as he gets by Bowman. Bowman hung out to dry in the bottom, trying to squeeze between Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski. Almost had Keselowski in the fence. Brad gonna get by. That's another Ford up inside the top 10. Not quite into the top 5 yet as he's running in the 7th place position. And he still has Denny Hamlin in 6th place right in front of him. And still hasn't even broken free of the 48 of Bowman, who remains underneath the 6 for now. And in fact, Bowman is going to be the one to pull clear in the middle of turns 3 and 4, so Brad remains in 8th. Might have had to lift that time because all of a sudden, Corey LaJoie is all over the back of his race car, as well as Ryan Preece with a major run. Keselowski back to the outside quickly before losing a potential position. Joey Logano trying to move into second. Gets to the inside of A.J. Allmendinger, who is the lone Chevrolet in the top 5. Alex Bowman going to make a pass on Denny Hamlin on the backstretch with all the cars moving to the bottom, and Bowman was underneath the 11 in the middle of 1 and 2. He's now the second highest running Chevy, and he runs in 6th now after getting by the 11. Keselowski now to the inside of Denny Hamlin as well, who is starting to go backwards. Buescher down to protect the inside as Logano's got a big run. He's got the 3 Penske cars behind him after A.J. Allmendinger has gotten hung out to dry. Austin Cindric lifting in the middle of the corner. Corey LaJoie goes around. Ty Gibbs is in it. Ross Chastain gets a big piece of the 54 car of Ty Gibbs, and we're under caution again for the 5th time tonight. LaJoie spun sideways. He did get clipped by a couple cars. Ty Gibbs and Ross Chastain also involved. Major damage on both the 54 and the 1, who ended up banging fenders with one another after they both made contact with the spinning LaJoie. So not everybody unscathed through this spin. Off of turn 2, likely contact that could have started the incident, although we did see Burton lose control on his own off turn 2 earlier. We'll have to wait and see a replay at lap 64.
3 wide, the 43.
Oh, yeah,
Eric
definitely
Jones into the left rear of the 7. He chases it up the track into the door. Reddick. 21, or the 1 car, I'm sorry, jumps the left side of the 54. That's pretty hard contact.
Eric Jones had a big run, and he just... Well, it looks like the 7 actually came down. It looks like, right. I thought the 43 was going up into the 7, but it looked like the 7 actually came down on the 43. Oh, look at that.
Big contact with the 1 of Ross Chastain.
Yeah, watch this 1 come through, jump the left front right there. Truex on the binder, slowing it down, locking the left front up there. Riding on board here, the 54 of Ty Gibbs. Yeah, the 7 did. I mean, the 43 held his line. He wasn't all the way against the apron, but the 7 does come down slightly. Kind of a racing deal. You know, the 43 is not perfectly low, but just kind of came together there. And it has been wild, like you guys said, right there around that 1 car. That 1, that 43, 54, 19, bouncing off each other for the last 10 laps.
You know, I tell you, we show these replays, and, you know, this was this guy's fault, that guy's fault. One thing we know for sure tonight is that it's hard to keep the car in one line. It's hard to keep the car going perfectly straight. They drive so bad, Marty, that it's just hard to point the finger and say it was one guy's fault.
And Jeff, I wish I could convey the intensity you feel on pit road. It's very palpable. Corey LaJoie said, for what it's worth on the radio, I know you guys said he may have come down on the 43. He said the 43 got in my left rear. So in his opinion, that was all on the 43. Car is not tracking straight for Corey LaJoie. The left front, he said, is way towed out.
Yeah, the left front's towed in, actually, from the contact.
Did 1 jump off of that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it's pointed to the center of the car, Dale, as you mentioned. So with long enough yellow, you could repair that. Now we see a bunch of cars coming to pit road. Keep it full of fuel here with 36 laps to go in stage 2, 5 laps short of halfway.
There were 7 cars involved in this incident. 7, 43, 45, 54, 19, 1, and 38.
And I like the leaders staying out here because with weather closing in, we've seen crazier things. Lightning can end it sooner than the rain gets here. But if you're Denny Hamlin and these cars on back, you want to keep fuel in your car in case the weather takes a little bit longer. You could kind of jump over those cars that stayed on the racetrack.
Kim.
And for Christopher Bell, he just told his team, if I had better handling, I could just fire right through these guys. You see Christopher Bell on the right lower of the screen. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, Marty.
Interesting move here. Chris Gabehart bringing Denny Hamlin to pit road. 4 fresh Goodyear tires and fuel as well. But you saw those leaders stay out, Dave. You saw Christopher Bell have to work his way out of his pit stall as well.
A.J. Allmendinger comes for 4 tires and fuel. He said, sorry, guys, I figured that was better than getting wrecked, that he couldn't keep the guys behind him. So 16 is okay. Now he's full of fuel and tires.
Quite a few on pit road. Again, topping off, some changing tires. The issue between the 7 and the 43, they'll have to figure it out because they both have different opinions as to how it happened.
Oh, there it is. Dropped a Cheez-It on the floor and I couldn't find it. I was looking for it forever. All right. So we are at lap 125, which is only 5 laps shy of the halfway mark, which again will make this race official if we do see rain, which it is on the way. Jason Hebner, Dale, thanks for tuning in the stream. Doran Davis. Tunchi Liu, thanks for tuning in also. Tom Tomorrow. Mamorant Horn. Also welcome into the stream. Once again, you can vote for who you think will win today's race. We're at 98 votes right now. Other leading the poll by a landslide, really 42% say that somebody other than Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, or Kyle Larson will win tonight's race. It's going to be tough to beat those Penske Fords, though. Blaney and Logano have been up there since the start. They finished first and third in stage 1. With Blaney winning that first stage. Chris Buescher, though, is taking control of this race in stage 2. Like quite a few laps here since the early pit stops, with the caution coming out for Byron spinning off the front of the 7 car in the early laps of the second stage. About 19 laps into the second stage to be approximate. He's led 35 laps today. Still not as many as Eric Almirola led from the pole at the start of the race. He led 46 laps. But quickly closing in on that total. A lot of the Fords stayed out of the pits there. And a lot of the Chevys and Toyotas decided to pit for fuel and tires. Ford staying out knowing they can go on fuel a little bit longer. They'll race to the end of the stage, try to get some stage points as well. If the race does end before we get to the end of stage 2, because we are at the halfway point, then the race finished results will also be the results for stage 2. We have seen that in the past with rain-shortened races during the stage racing era when we have gotten to the halfway mark. But the stage lengths are different depending on the length of the race, so sometimes we get halfway before the end of stage 2. Sometimes we get to the end of stage 2 before we get halfway. So tonight it's an instance where we will get to the end of stage 2 after the halfway mark, because again we're just a couple laps away from that for right now.
I'm going to say be weather aware and be a good meteorologist, because you're going to have to guess when this weather's going to get here.
A lot of cars on the lead lap. People come down pit road. It's easy to have a problem, have damage, have contact. We've seen it before. Have a clean pit road.
Guys, I hate to be Captain Obvious here, but I'm gonna. You just got to get to the front. You get to the front, you win the race.
That's why he's one of the best analysts in the business. Give.
Well, while we're talking weather, Christopher Bell was one of the drivers that stopped during that caution. Here's the conversation between he and crew chief Adam Stevens about what's coming.
There is weather coming, and we're going to get hit, right? Yeah, it's just a matter of how long it takes to get here and how many laps we run between now and then. The guys that didn't pit are going to have to pit at the stage.
And then Adams went on to say that they do think that they made the right call, that the weather's not going to come until after the stage ends. So crew chief Adam Stevens confirming they feel like they made the right decision with that call.
Well, time will tell. 33 laps to go in the stage. The leaders, Buescher, Logano, Blaney, Cindric, they were all last on pit road at lap 82. We think they could go around 70 laps. So, they're going to go all the way to the end of this stage.
We've seen in the past, and I'll point specifically to Daytona, rain can just pop up in any part of a racetrack. And this is a situation where NASCAR will make sure safety is the biggest concern, that they wouldn't get these guys going if the possibility of rain on the racetrack when they're at speed.
Green flag back in the air as we have 31 laps to go in stage 2. Chris Buescher on the outside of the front row and the Penske Fords on the bottom of Logano and Blaney working in a cohesive unit. Cindric trying to push the 17 on the outside, but it's not going to push him clear. Well, Cindric moved to the bottom behind Blaney on the back straightaway. He does not. He stays with the 17 car. Logano might have had a chance to clear, but he stayed connected with the 12 instead. Buescher is now going to be able to pull clear in turns 3 and 4 and maintain the race lead for this first lap following the restart. Cindric and Logano now side by side for second. Blaney moves to the outside, abandoning Joey Logano. He'll get to third as he follows his other teammate of Austin Cindric, the younger of the two that are racing around him. Cindric now with a massive run in the middle of the corner, looks to the outside of Chris Buescher off the exit of turn 2. Buescher going to pull back down to the bottom. Maybe not as big of a run as I thought initially there for Cindric. Again, he'll go to the outside into the corner. 17 car down to the bottom. The 2 pulls clear of the 22. He's got a big run. Blaney not able to stay with him as he was busy side drafting the 22 car. A lot of 3 wide racing going on further back in the pack, just outside the top 10. Any lap could be the last as we are now officially halfway. 130 laps down and 130 laps still to go. Cindric down to the bottom. Big block by Buescher rather. Cindric to the outside. Blaney going to go with his teammate. Can he give Cindric the push to get to the lead? He does. Cindric, who comes in 20th in points, well outside the cutoff line. Not in a must-win situation. He's 45 points back, but in a tight situation where a win locks him in, it's going to be tough to get points. He scored a lot of points already today with stage points in stage 1, but looking to lock himself in with a win. He is in second. Big move for that second place spot. Brad Keselowski down to the inside, who has not won since going to ownership roles at RFK Racing, newly rebranded, obviously Roush Fenway Racing, but in that 6 car, he jumped to the bottom. He saw his teammate Chris Buescher falling back. He's going to work with him. Buescher pushes Keselowski, and it's the Penske Fords versus the RFK Fords at the front of the field. Penske up high. RFK down low on the bottom, door-to-door. Keselowski trying to get redemption from the Atlanta Spring Race where he was so close to getting the win. Led on the final lap. Talked about him very briefly that he was going to be one of the favorites in today's race. The first time he has been towards the front of the field. He did not lead that lap at the line, but running the 2 very tightly, trying to force him into a mistake. Just a little bit more of a push, and Brad will be clear, but will he move to the top the first chance he gets, or will he stay to the bottom lane with the 17 there, despite the top being the preferred lane on the racetrack? Very tight. 2x2. Chase Elliott now in the top 10 for the first time tonight as well, as he's underneath Justin Haley, 4th car in line on the bottom, behind his teammate Alex Bowman and both the RFK Fords on the inside as well. Still 3 wide further back in the pack at the front stretch through turns 1 and 2. 1 car way to the outside trying to make a move, and it looks like it may be Eric Jones in the 43 car once again. He's made a lot of aggressive moves in the middle of the pack today. It's kind of caused 2 incidences. Hopefully he doesn't cause any more, and we can stay great into the finish of this one. Still 25 laps to go in stage 2. If we do get to the end of the second stage, that will be guaranteed a caution. We know everybody's good on fuel at least to the end of this stage, but when the stage break comes around for those that stayed out of the pits, it'll be interesting if they decide to pit again. Up against the wall goes, I believe, the 43 of Eric Jones. He's going to lose quite a few positions. The outside lane, about 4 or 5 spots lost in the middle of the corner. Denny Hamlin in the 3rd lane now on the top with his teammate Martin Truex Jr. trying to get things going right around 11th or 12th. And for about 4 laps in a row, maybe more than that now, the 2 and the 6 have been door-to-door for the race lead. Bubba Wallace trying to go to the bottom 3 wide as he makes a pass for position now. Right in line behind Chase Elliott, it appears. Right around 9th or 10th. Michael McDowell back in the top 10 after finishing there at the end of stage 1. He was one of the Fords putting on a late charge at the end, which almost allowed for Kyle Larson to steal the win away in that first stage when he made a 3-wide move himself on the final lap to get to the inside of Blaney and Logano. Ended up second by a nose to the 12th car. Big charge on the outside. Martin Truex Jr. passes both Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott, and he is now up to 10th place with a rocket ship. He's going to be boxed in, but he's looking at more ground. I think he pitted for tires, so overall he's got more grip. He doesn't have to lift as much in the corner, and he's getting clean air to also not have to lift as much by running all the way next to the wall, and he's making up ground. Ryan Blaney losing a position, it looks like. Rather, that is the 34 of Michael McDowell losing a spot. Truex again to the outside. He does have Wallace with him, who also took 4 tires, so that strategy call is looking like it is playing out as they're getting to the front quickly. Everybody racing the range. Cindric finally clear on the bottom of Keselowski. Moves down. Truex still up high. Bubba Wallace lifted, which caused the top lane to stack up a little bit. But Truex keeps going. He gets in front of Logano. He'll split the Penske Fords up with the 12 and the 22. And now he'll try to overtake the 12. And the 17 in the middle of the corner. Blaney saw that. He moved up, blocking the 19. He saw how much ground he was making up those last couple corners. And now he's going to try to take the momentum that the 19 is going to have down the backstretch and try to pull alongside the 6 for second place here shortly. 6 needing to get a run again, but he has the 22 behind him who doesn't have as same amount of tires on his race car compared to the 23. Cindric back to the bottom, clears the 6. Going into turn 1, 20 to go, stage 2. Keselowski right there behind him. Blaney trying to lead the charge on the top. Can he get the push from Alex Bowman, who is now to the outside lane out of nowhere? Moving up behind Blaney, but then into the corner behind Buescher on the bottom. Truex to the outside of the 48. Bowman not going to be able to get to the top again, this time on the front stretch. Keselowski with a big run off turn 4, looks to the inside. Cindric with a block. Lap car coming up. This is going to be interesting with a lot of the cars 2 and 3 wide, further back in the pack still. Keselowski moving up to block the 12th car. Can he get a push down the backstretch? Big gap between the 2 and the 6. Blaney is pushing Keselowski a ton. Cindric moved to the bottom to break the draft. Back to the top to try to block. He can't do it. Keselowski is there, and he may have a chance to pass the sophomore driver Austin Cindric for the lead off turn 4. Keselowski by inches leads his first lap over the 2 of Cindric. Gets another big push into turn 1 from Ryan Blaney, and here comes Truex behind the 12. Moves up, but the 12 goes to occupy the 19. Luckily, he didn't get tight and end up in the wall because there was not much room to avoid the wall there. Buescher with a block to the bottom. Gets a huge push from Alex Bowman. Almost turned himself, and Cindric back to the inside of the 6 again into turns 3 and 4. 3 by 3, 4 to 5 rows deep outside the top 15. Blaney to the back of the 6 again. And it looks like Keselowski will be clear on the front stretch. Blaney clears the 2. He goes to the inside, and he's looking for the race lead down in the middle of 1 and 2. Truex, with these guys hot on their tails, is trying to mount a run himself to get to the lead on fresher tires, and he will be very difficult to overtake if he can get to the front. Looking into the middle lane for the clean air. Closes quickly off the exit of turn 4. Now he's going to have to push the 6 and just work one at a time. He'll get by Blaney. Keselowski holds off the 12. The 12 back in line behind the 19. Cindric almost 3 wide middle into turn 1. And Chris Buescher's back on the top side of him. Big side drafting moment there for Truex as he chases the 12 down the track. Big block by Blaney. Almost put himself on the wall on the backstretch. And now gets a push from the 19 car again as he mounts a run into turn 3. Brad Keselowski is there controlling the lanes. Truex dropping back a bit, about a 2-car length gap between himself and the 12. Brad Keselowski out in front. 15 laps to go. Stage 2. Eddie lap again could be the last with rain on the way. Blaney to the outside of the 6. Keselowski couldn't block him enough. He tried to pass him twice on the bottom, couldn't do it. Now he's going to try to pass him on the top. Truex is busy blocking the 17, so the 12 couldn't get a big push, and now the 17 to the bottom as he wants to go with his teammate and team owner, Brad Keselowski. Truex gets tight, has to lift again. Couple cars in the wall further back in the pack, but we stay green. That's Gragson and Busch. Door to door for the lead on the front stretch. Into turn 1 goes Brad Keselowski, the 17 locking bumpers. The 19 cannot get to the outside of the 12, which he did for most of the passing that he made throughout the pack. 3 wide around Bell, Wallace, Logano's dropped back quite a bit as he is now battling just outside the top 10, right around 14th. Keselowski clear of Ryan Blaney, gets to the inside. Very thankful his teammate Chris Buescher was there to try to get to him. And Truex also got passed by the 2 car somehow in turns 3 and 4. And Denny Hamlin's now the highest driver in the running order on 4 fresh tires, but he is on the bottom. He's got AJ Allmendinger in the 16 car behind him. NASCAR non-stop commercial, but we'll keep the live commentary coverage rolling because it has been non-stop action so far in this second stage. And especially since the most recent restart, we have seen probably the most aggressive and the best racing we have seen to this point tonight. And maybe ever at this new Atlanta Motor Speedway. 12 to go in the stage. And again, it couldn't be for the win, knowing that the stage caution will lengthen out a few more minutes and allow for the rain to get closer to the racetrack. Single file through about the top 5 or 6 cars. Your top 5 as they run right now. Brad Keselowski in the race lead. Chris Buescher second. Ryan Blaney third. Austin Cindric fourth. And Denny Hamlin is in fifth. Top 6 or 7 cars now single file at the front of the field. Some of those drivers on Ford tires that were getting up through the field all of a sudden have 4 Fords on older tires that are back in front of them once again. Blaney looking to the outside of the 17. He's so close, but Buescher with the block, and that will keep Keselowski out in front for at least another lap. 17 has got to be committed to working with the 6 the way they work together to get to the front of the field. And even when the 17 fell back just a little bit, catching back up and immediately going behind the 6 of Keselowski, trying to get him in victory lane, or at least one of those 2 cars to victory lane, whichever one it is. They're both inside the cutoff line pretty comfortably, but they would like that security to get the win. Keselowski has not won with RFK Racing. Buescher did win at Bristol last season with RFK in the playoffs, despite not qualifying for the playoffs in 2022. And it was his second career win. Keselowski has not won a NASCAR Cup race since spring Talladega 2021. Was his last win in the 2 car when he drove for Penske. And now it's the 2 Penske Fords that are trying to overtake him for the second straight Atlanta race to dethrone Keselowski tonight. Blaney that time gets to the outside of the 17, not a lot of help on the bottom. Buescher trying to side draft as much as he can, but the 2 giving the bump draft to the 12 might allow for a major run to come, because Keselowski got quite a ways ahead of the pack that time as they rolled through turns 1 and 2. AJ Allmendinger to the inside of Austin Cindric. He gets to the top. No, he goes back to the bottom. Almost squeezed Cindric into the wall. And keeps the momentum up as he sits behind Chris Buescher. Showing a radar simultaneously while they're showing the race, again just to show that there is rain on the way. Keselowski blocks Blaney to the top, back to the bottom with his teammate Chris Buescher. Buescher going to try to build up a little bit more of that gap that was built between the 17 and the 6 now. Back to the top, Buescher to the inside, may get underneath the 6 car this time through turns 1 and 2. Not quite going to get the run off the exit of the corner. The 12 now pushing the 6, trying to get clear of the 17, but he can't do it. Keselowski trying to ride the brakes to keep the 12 side by side with the 17. That's going to be his best chance to try to hold on to the race lead. 7 laps to go. Stage 2. Brad Keselowski and maybe the race for the win. Blaney right there again, but still cannot pull clear of the 17 car. He's boxed into the outside and can't go anywhere. Cindric is back on the top lane behind Blaney, and I'm sure he'll go anywhere the 12 does. Fords occupy the top 5 right now, then Bowman the highest Chevy in 6th, and Bell the highest Chevy in 7th. Bell going to get taken over by Denny Hamlin, who gets turned in the middle of the corner, and they're crashing up turn 4. Hamlin slides into Bowman after Bowman went up the track and clipped the 11, and we're under yellow for the 6th time, and this may run us to the end of stage 2 as we only have 5 laps left in the second stage. Keselowski is the leader, Blaney 2nd, Chris Buescher 3rd, Austin Cindric 4th, AJ Allmendinger will end up 5th, Bubba Wallace 6th, Justin Haley 7th, Michael McDowell 8th, Christopher Bell 9th, and Ryan Preece 10th. Heavy damage on the 48 of Bowman. A playoff contender coming into the race on points today. He was 26 below, having a solid day. Stage points in stage 1, was solidly inside the top 10 and borderline top 5. Had a big moment in turn 4. Car went up the racetrack, couldn't catch it quick enough, maybe a slight overcorrection, clipping Denny Hamlin in the left rear. Hamlin went up the track, nearly clinching the 20 car of Christopher Bell into the wall. And the 48 slides down into the grass on the front stretch with the 11. He flat spotted the right front tire, which is what just completely sheared the right front fender off the 48 car. Bringing out again our 6th caution of the race. And will this be the finish, or will we get back to green flag racing before the rain comes? My goodness. That was crazy. That might be some of the best super speedway racing I think we've seen this year. You just add rain to a NASCAR race, whether it is during the race on a road course or on the way, and it just heightens everything up to a whole nother level. And these guys don't want to waste any time.
I love how the the spotter in mid-wreck says 48 got us. Go ahead and let them know what happened.
Now, what does NASCAR do here? What do you think, Steve? 4 to go before the end of the stage. You got rain. What do you do?
Well, the interesting thing is, they have to make a decision. They won't open pit road if they don't believe they can restart before the end of the stage. They've said in the past that they will just ride around to the end of the stage, finish the stage. So the question is, how quickly can they get it cleaned up? I mean, it looks like they might be able to. It's 3 to go now. I don't believe they can open pit road on 3 to go and catch up the field, 2 to go, and restart. So I think we're going to see 3 pace laps here, 3 caution flag laps to end the stage.
A wild ride for Denny Hamlin. Got tagged by the 48 of Alex Bowman out front. Keselowski scored the race leader here in Atlanta.
Wild race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway tonight here as we will eclipse the end of stage 2. Again, rain is on the way. Any lap could be the last. We have gotten well past halfway now, about 30 laps past the halfway mark at this point. Still 100 laps to go in the race if we do see the end, but I just don't think that that will be the case. Thrilling 30 to 40 laps of green flag racing there. And about as good as super speedway racing as you'll find. Brad Keselowski out in front. Got 4 Fords at the front of the field. Now also remember that the 4 cars you see at the front did not pit during that last caution. So they have much less fuel in their race cars versus everybody else who topped off with about 40 to go in the stage. I do think those cars are going to be able to stay out a little bit longer, maybe 20 laps or so. So it's a risky call on whether or not they stay out or not. I think you have to run it dry at this point. And just willing to say that this is going to be the end of the race right here, right now. And with that being the case, if we do make it 20 to 30 laps and they have to pit under green, then they have to pit under green. So many drivers at the front of the field have not won yet this season. So if we look at drivers with a win that are locked into the playoffs in the top 10, only Ryan Blaney in second and Christopher Bell in seventh of the drivers inside the top 10 have a win. Drivers in the top 10 without a win this season: Keselowski in first, Chris Buescher in third, Austin Cindric in fourth, AJ Allmendinger fifth, Bubba Wallace in sixth, Michael McDowell eighth, Justin Haley ninth, and Ryan Preece in 10th. Chase Elliott in 12th, up there as well. Eric Jones in 14th. Eric Almirola 15th. There's 4 drivers in the top 15 with a win. That means 11 of them do not have a win. And we are currently at 2 to go in the stage. Again, we have to ride under caution until we get to the stage end because we couldn't get a restart in. And then pit road will open the first lap following the stage end for these drivers and teams to hit the pits.
The stage and then
if
open pit road immediately at the end of stage 2. So the track being cleaned currently. And the field will come around and get the 1 to go signal. 1 to go in stage 2, not 1 to go before they restart.
This is, by the way, the second stage win of the season for Brad Keselowski. Just wanted to note that.
This has been some of the most intense 30 or 40 minutes of action. And I want to just tip my hat to the drivers, Dale and Jeff, right? Marcus rebuilt this place. NASCAR brought the right package. But in the end, the drivers have put this unbelievable commitment into this style of racing. And the show that they are putting on is unreal. Brad Keselowski currently leads. He should win stage 2 right here. Let's listen into the radio.
Oh, man. I don't know. What's the latest lightning strike? The rain is moving in faster than the lightning now. So I would say the rain, my guess is 10 minutes. So 10 minutes is 20 laps, and we have 14 laps of fuel. Yes, sir. Right at it.
So he's actually considering, so right here on the left, let's take a look, right? You see 82 down to 125. That is the last time these cars were on pit road. So Keselowski is basically out of gas, or as you just heard, very close. Allmendinger, Wallace, Bell, they could stay on the racetrack, but if the 6 stays on the racetrack, Dave, he's going to have to pit very quickly in this next stage.
As soon as the caution came out, Steve, he said to Matt McCall, his crew chief, I do not envy you in this situation. Steve, how about this? Brad came back after a little discussion. We heard a little bit of it there on the radio and said, I think we need to do whatever we need to do to complete the race. So would you see that meaning maybe they're going to pit?
I think you have to pit. I mean, they have 78 laps on the fuel. I mean, if this thing restarts, he's going to pit in 5 or 6 laps. And remember, as long as pit road is here, you're going to lose at least 1. Even with the increased speed, you may lose 2 to the pack. I don't think you can throw away a good run. I know he wants to win a race, but you know, Brad Keselowski is inside the playoff picture. So he needs some points as he's going to win this stage and bucket 10 of them, Dave. But you can't let the emotion of a potential win throw away what you've done all year long in points, in my opinion. I think they're going to have to pit.
And there you see Keselowski getting the stage win right there. But consider this as well, and know this. They changed this race car. They were on pit road a long time at one of the caution flags. They lifted the hood. They worked on the left and right front suspension. They lifted this car up so that it would race well. That's how Brad got to the front.
We see on the left side of the screen here, 79 laps that they've been running. And as far as fuel running out, well, Allmendinger probably looks pretty good here. Only 36 laps. Let's listen into his radio.
Best fuel position of anybody else, but we're gambling on weather. It looks like it's closing in, and I'm leaning towards staying out here. The only other option would be we can pit foot right side down so we can go a little bit further.
So who makes the gamble of staying out, thinking that this one might be shortened by rain? Allmendinger's going to do it.
I love the call for Allmendinger. He's outside the playoff picture, not a long ways, but I think he has enough fuel on board to run further, far enough. He can run another 35 or 40 laps. You see, now they're staring at each other on this long pit road. Brad sees who stayed out. Now, the most important thing is the 6, the 12, the 17. Don't speed. I mean, you see how many other cars are pitting, so he's going to restart kind of mid-pack. He'll have a chance. I think we'll see enough racing. He could try to get back to the front.
And quite a few cars heading toward you, Marty.
Just like his teammate and owner, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher is pretty comfortably in the playoffs, so Scott Graves reminded him of that. We can't take any crazy risk here. Been very happy with the car, just a little bit too free when it's in traffic. They're going to take their 4 fresh Goodyear tires here in Sunoco Fuel, Dave.
Blaney's happy with his 12 car. They talked about 4 tires. We'll see if that's where they go. They were talking in code for Brad Keselowski. It looks like 4 tires from Goodyear and Sunoco Fuel for each of the 12 and the 6.
The race off pit road. Again, a lot of cars have stayed out on the racetrack, so we'll see how these blend in. Bubba Wallace, first off pit road, Mark Truex Jr.
Head into commercial after the Stage 2 break. With that being said, we did make it to the end of Stage 2, so we will have our diecast showing that we have during the end of Stage 2 during these live commentary streams. Of course, this is the last race at Atlanta for Kevin Harvick. They had the classic 29 car back on track in the pre-race that Richard Childress drove with the same paint scheme on it. That was won by Harvick in his first career win 3 weeks after the tragic passing of Dale Earnhardt Sr. in the 2001 Daytona 500 during the 2001 Atlanta Spring Race. I have that diecast, so I figured that was a good one to show for you guys today. I actually showed it during the either the North Wilkesboro All-Star race when he ran the same paint scheme or the first Atlanta race this year, but figured it was a good time to show this off again. You can see the rookie stripes on the back of the car to signify again he was a rookie. It's actually autographed on the roof of the race car. I bought it that way, and this was one of the first, if not the first, 124 scale diecasts that I bought to start this collection. I had a couple Blaney ones, I guess, before, but of the classic NASCAR schemes that I have from my childhood, this is definitely one of them that ranks up there on the list. I always liked Harvick's Goodwrench cars. The Goodwrench cars have always had good paint schemes, whether it's him or Dale Sr., but I liked his Goodwrench cars too, and this was the first and maybe the most vital to both his career and, of course, just uplifting NASCAR in that tragic year of 2001. From what we saw just a couple weeks before that, so I figured that I would show that diecast off for you guys here tonight. We will take a quick break, and then we will get back to the action here to start Stage 3 shortly. You're listening live to the Quaker State 400 at Atlanta Motor Speedway on KRC. When will the rain come? How long will the rain be here for to potentially end the race if it does come? Because NASCAR will wait it out if they need to. But at the same time, I mean, if it's downpouring for like 45 minutes to an hour, knowing how much longer it'll dry the track after that, they could very well call it because we are halfway. This race is official if that happens. I believe they'll get the one-to-go signal this time by, and we will have about 96 laps to go at the time. But again, any lap could be the last.
Kyle Larson out of the race. We saw the spin. What
Kim
happened,
Coon.
and then ultimately what took you out of contention?
Yeah, on the spin, I haven't seen a replay, but I think I was just late and slow to protect the top, and the 43 must have been just really close to me and got me loose, and spun, got the flat, and then I thought we were going to be lucky enough to just be able to drive right to my pit stall and change. We changed the right rear and didn't get the right front change, and then that exploded on pit road or on the apron, and then had to lose some laps or a lap for the damage, and then just had a little bit of a tire up still, and ultimately just ended up giving out and got in the wall. So hate that I made the mistake there that put us in this position, but was having fun up until the spin and thought I was doing a decent job. Finishing second in the stage, so I wish I could have got to the end, but most of the time I feel like it's my fault or other people's fault why I DNF, but tonight was my fault, so a little bit of a bummer.
And this DNF ending a streak of top 10 finishes for the number 5 team.
Yeah, dejected Kyle Larson there. The top 9 right now, 7 of them winless this year.
We talked about this was an opportunity, and who was it an opportunity for? McDowell, we saw damage earlier. He's recovered well. Allmendinger on the outside. Jones. Suarez looking for a win.
Well, those Fords that were at the front of the field at the end of stage 2 are now running in 16th on back, where Buescher, Keselowski, Cindric, Blaney, and Harvick are all running. 96 to go. But again, any lap could be the last. I hate to reiterate that over and over again, but it is true. And we will see how this will unfold. Final stage underway. Green flag at Atlanta. A.J. Allmendinger and Michael McDowell on the front row. McDowell on the inside, Allmendinger on the top, Eric Jones in the 43, right behind the 16, of course. McDowell will pull clear on the bottom. First time we've really seen the bottom lane be able to pull clear of anybody on the top. McDowell has plenty of time to move up, and he'll do so on the backstretch. AJ had a run, thought about going to the bottom, goes back to the top. McDowell blocking all the way near the wall, and AJ back to the outside of the 34 once again. Too big of a run for the 34 to block without wrecking, so he chose to stay to the bottom. He will get past Byron in the 24 following the 16. And Willie B trying to get his 4th win of the season and his 2nd at this new Atlanta. Won the spring race here last year. In contention late. A lot of cars 3 wide in the back half of the field of those that just pitted for tires. Trying to navigate their way forward. We saw some of the Toyotas move themselves up inside the top 5, top 10 late in the stage on those 4 fresh tires. And knowing how fast the Fords are on top of it, I'm sure somebody can get up there. Keselowski, the highest running of those since the restart, in the 12th place position. Byron down to the outside into turn 1 on A.J. Allmendinger. Daniel Suarez on the 99 car. The Quaker State car and the Quaker State 400 is going to follow behind William Byron. Push him down the backstretch to the lead. Does he go for the lead himself? If he can pull clear the 16, he can't quite pull clear. Byron is going to stay on the top for now. He'll protect the bottom if he needs. Eric Jones with a full head of steam in the middle of the corner. Gets to the outside of a couple of the Toyotas underneath him. Kyle Busch is also in the mix. Right around where Jones and Wallace are at. How about the Rick Ware Racing car? J.G. Yaley in the 7th place position of the 15 car after staying out of the pits there. Staying up in the pack. He's in contention late. Todd Gilliland, 2nd-year driver for Front Row Motorsports in the 38 car. Side by side with his teammate Michael McDowell. They're the highest running Fords in the running order along with Yaley. In the 15, Yaley running part-time for Rick Ware Racing, so he is not playoff eligible if he pulls off a massive upset. Winless in his NASCAR career. And a little less than half a tank of gas really left for a lot of those drivers that did stay out. Except for Michael McDowell. He also stayed out as long as Keselowski, Blaney, and them guys did. So he will have to pit within probably 15 to 20 laps. He's losing a lot of ground, too, on much older tires than the rest of the field. He finds himself 3 wide middle. between Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Eric Jones. Off the exit of turn 2, all that 3x3 racing going on from about 7th on back. Suarez and Allmendinger have been side by side for second for a little while. Suarez hasn't had a lot of help. If he can get it, I think he's got a fast race car because down on the bottom by himself, he's holding on strong. Michael McDowell got out of the 3 wide middle battle, and he is the next car on the bottom lane for now. Allmendinger back clear of the 99 finally. Here comes McDowell quickly to the back of the 99 car. A little too late for at least Suarez to stay up in P2. He runs side by side for P3 with Todd Gilliland. Big block by Stenhouse trying to chop off Martin Church Jr. is going to get underneath him. Suarez moving tight up the racetrack just a little bit. Michael McDowell may get underneath him there. Wild racing at Atlanta going on right now. Everybody going for everything they can get to get themselves in contention to the front of the field as quick as possible. Again, rain on the way. William Byron leads the race. Time for the most wins this year coming in, looking for a 4th in the first half of the season. Or just after the halfway point of the season if we want to get technical. It's the 18th race, or the 19th race out of 36. So we're exactly halfway through the year before this race started. McDowell, contact nearly between himself and Suarez. Harvick spins on the back stretch. He's down on the apron. He's out of the way. We do stay green. We stay green. Harvick is out of the way on the apron through 1 and 2. No debris on the racetrack. Big gap being built between the 24 and the 16 at the front of the field. 2 cars are ahead by about maybe 4+ car lengths off of turn 4. 89 laps to go. I'm sure Allmendinger wants to get by Byron as quick as he can, but it's going to be tough to mount a run until the rest of the pack starts to close in again. Suarez able to get down in front of the 34 car on the bottom. Keselowski back in the top 10 now. He's up to 9th place and charging on the bottom, 3 wide. Underneath Stenhouse and Priest. He's got Bubba Wallace behind him. Wallace has shown speed at times throughout the course of the night as well. Keselowski, really the only Ford of those that just pitted that has worked his way inside the top 10. He has left Blaney, Buscher, and Logano in the dust. Blaney 16th, Cindric 19th, Buscher 20th, and Logano 22nd, but Keselowski is all the way up to 5th now in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Keselowski putting the blue oval teams on his back as he has carried himself back towards the front of the pack. Suarez to the outside of the 16. He couldn't pass him on the bottom. He'll try to pass him up high. McDowell will follow. That'll help Suarez. Suarez has a big run now, and William Byron is Allmendinger's left in the dust. 16 trying to close that gap quickly. Kyle Busch is now behind the 6 car. Brad Keselowski gets to the outside of the 6. The 6 pulls to the bottom. The 16 does as well. Going to help the draft to Keselowski, but he may lose a spot to Busch, though, for the time being. He'll side draft him down the backstretch as much as he can. Kyle Busch been so good on the super speedways this year. Getting close to winning the Daytona 500. Led laps late, leading to the overtime restart in that one. Also had a chance to win at Atlanta in the spring race. Had a top 5 won at Talladega. And out of nowhere, in contention here late, despite not really running in the top 10 for most of the night up to this point. He was one of the drivers that stayed out of the pits, restarted in the back half of the top 10, remains there for now. He's behind A.J. Allmendinger. Michael McDowell pulled to the bottom to follow the 99. He couldn't get by A.J. Allmendinger. Still stays gridlocked with Allmendinger to his outside. Keselowski going to push the 34 car in the front stretch, and the 2 Fords trying to work together. Suarez saw that, moved to the bottom, and he's going to try to build up a run. Byron going to have to just mirror drive. He goes where the 99 went just to try to block any sort of a run Suarez may have gotten from the 34 and the 6. Trouble! Caution in the middle of the corner. Wallace is around. He had contact with Ryan Preece. Everybody else misses them miraculously. And we are under caution for the 7th time. William Byron is the leader, and will we get the restart before the rain comes? I think Michael McDowell is going to have to pit. He is very low on fuel, and this is going to be his chance to do it under caution. If I'm McDowell, I would stay out until you get the 1 to go signal and then come in and top off. I think as you're getting 1 to go, you come in top off knowing that you're probably going to go back to green, but I would wait it out before then. Priest just lost it, really, going into the corner. I mean, he was getting bump drafted down the backstretch going into the corner, but it looked like he got loose, and then when he came down the track, Wallace was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time and got taken with him. No major damage on either race car, though. I do think they'll be able to continue on as long as they get to pit road if they did flat spot any tires without tearing up any of the fenders on the car. Todd Gillen just squeezed by Priest on the outside. He might have scraped the wall getting by him, but it wasn't hard enough to maybe knock the toe out of the race car, so that's good. Busher heavy on the brakes to miss the 41 as well. Luckily, he didn't get ran into from behind. A couple cars missing down to the apron. Wallace was down into the grass pretty quickly. A little bit of contact with Denny Hamlin. He got in the back of Chase Elliott and in the side of, I think, the 17 of Busher. Got in there really hot. And then they're showing a replay of Harvick spinning, which was on the front stretch a few laps before that. He did get back to pit road. Unfortunately, lost a few laps having to pit under green. Free pass is going to go to Alex Bowman. He'll get back on the lead lap with this caution flag coming out. That's good for him. Harrison Burton got the 1 lap down after being 4 laps down with his early incident. But Bowman had an incident not that long ago as well, so he was just in front of Burton when the caution flag waved.
In front of the field at Atlanta when they were wrecking behind him.
Commercial break right now at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Hopefully we get back to racing before rain comes. We're down to 80 laps to go in the race in the Quaker State 400 at Atlanta. I'm hoping the rain stays away to the end because it's been exhilarating, but at the same time, I just don't think that is going to happen. Stay tuned. We'll keep the coverage going for you guys. I'll keep the poll up for a little bit longer as well. Our goal is 200 likes on the stream. We're at right around 200 people currently in the chat, so hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already, for more live race commentary streams throughout the course of every NASCAR Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series races this season, any season going forward. Appreciate the support, and we're on the road to 5,000 subscribers, so definitely, again, hit that subscribe button. So we'll take a quick break here, and again, hopefully we'll get back to the restart shortly. Sure, Priest will blame it on something. Yeah, he just lost it going into the corner. He didn't really get hit from behind. iRacing 413, thanks for tuning in. Rooting for Jones since Larson's out. Jeff Curry, thanks for tuning in. David Beebe, thanks for watching. Ecstasy, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Bert's still in it. He might get back on the lead lap. He doesn't have a lot of damage. He was just trapped so many laps down. AJ Summers, thanks for tuning into the stream. Bunkers with Lucas, welcome. How long till the storm hits? An hour, a half hour? I mean, at the start of the stage, they were saying about 20 minutes, or about 10 minutes on Brad Keselowski's radio call in the communications he had with him and his crew chief, Mikhail, so not raining at the track yet. Have not gotten the one to go signal yet, though, either. Still making some cleanup from that incident. When the rain comes, though, it may pour. Good chance it will. 79 laps to go. Cannot race in the rain on an oval, especially super speedway. We saw at Daytona last year how that does not work. They didn't purposely try to race in the rain, by the way. It just so happened to rain on one side of the track. NASCAR didn't see it on time, and the caution came out. I mean, the front of the storm kind of missed to the south, so that's why it hasn't gotten to the track yet. Maybe we do make it to the end of the race. Who knows? Ryan Blaney out of nowhere also got up to 8th place. I saw Keselowski obviously battling Busch there for 5th. When the caution flag came out, I didn't realize Ryan Blaney charged from about 16th to 8th in those last couple laps before the caution as well. Chris Buescher's up to 12th, but then Logano and Cindric are still well outside the top 15 yet. Cindric actually 14th, and then Logano 17th. Keselowski just ripped through the field way faster than those other Fords. And again, they roughly have about 30-plus lap fresher tires. It looks like there is some rain falling in the lights. So it looks like raindrops are being had right now, and hopefully it doesn't lose the racetrack.
Right, so what he decided to do here is even when pit road opens, they're not going to pit. They're only going to pit when they get one lap to go if the fuel holds out even for that. Michael McDowell just told the guys, I'm so proud of you. We have an amazing car. I hope this doesn't take us out of a shot to win the thing. But what about the crew chief, Steve, making that call to at least try something, right?
Absolutely. I love the gamble. You see McDowell barely in at +3 right now in the current position. Now, I will say, though, not to be Debbie Downer, he has to be very careful at 1 to go because of the length of the pit road here in Atlanta. So normally, pit road's mostly just a front stretch. You can pit at 1 to go, service your car, and catch back up. My feel for McDowell is if he pits on the end of the backstretch coming to 1 to go and runs all the way around at this slow pit road speed, I haven't looked at the data, but he might be well behind the pack. You don't want to do that. You don't want to take yourself out. I'm sure Travis has thought of this. He's a very bright crew chief. Worked with some big organizations. He's got a great opportunity here, and they're doing a great job. I mean, it takes real leadership to get that car repaired the way it is with the right front fender taped back together and be here running inside, you know, the top 5.
Pit road's still closed, and NASCAR is hearing from drivers and their spotters around the racetrack there are raindrops in the area. So again, we mentioned earlier, caution is what NASCAR is always worried about. They want to make sure that they would never put these cars out on the track in a non-cautious situation.
Well, the problem for McDowell is he really wants a lightning strike that will instantly stop the cars on pit road, because in light rain, NASCAR has shown that they'll keep the cars out there, keep the temperature on the racetrack. To your point, Rick, not if it gets too heavy, but, you know, we're looking at the fuel burn on this 34. He has to be down to basically nothing in this car.
Steve, I like NASCAR not opening pit road right now. If you're hearing rain on the racetrack in certain areas, trying to keep it fair for everybody, try not to open pit road until they feel that they can get, the track. They know the track's not going to get wet, and they go back green.
Yeah, I absolutely have to agree, as much as I don't want to. I want to put it in the positions of the crew chiefs, but I do think with imminent weather and the radar looking the way it is, if it was a pop-up shower, I would disagree with Jeff and say, no. You got to decide if we're going to keep running, not run. That's part of being a crew chief. But that is not a pop-up shower. That's a major storm that's been moving here. So, Jeff, I think you and I are on the same page here, but I'm going to leave myself some wiggle room in future races to disagree on the same call.
Well, there comes a time, too, where, if it doesn't start raining in the next few minutes, you got to open pit road. We got to go back racing. They're just trying to be fair to the teams right here.
All right, let's let you know how we got to this point. Richard Childress behind the wheel of the 29. A historic run here. Again, the first win for Kevin Harvick back in 2001 after Dale Earnhardt passed at Daytona.
Then the action started very quickly. Harrison Burton in the 21 just gets free, spins down the backstretch. You see right here, does a great job not hitting anything too significant, but with the flat tires did lose some laps.
Tyler Reddick with perhaps the save of the day. Big wiggle on the front straightaway. Blaney winning stage 1.
Truex has a little trouble on pit road. He would recover and drive back up through the field, but I turned around.
Well, pit road issues were more than just contact. Pit penalties galore. The 25 of William Byron had a penalty, sent him all the way to the back, gave up some track position. He was up front when this occurred.
Damage right here. Big spin by William Byron. We thought he was in big trouble here, but guess what? That's the guy right there that's leading the race.
Then the 5 Larson gets turned around. And this would end his day. He would blow the right front tire trying to get back around to get tires on this car after the spin. Tire explode right here. Destroys that car.
Then the 7 of Corey LaJoie, some contact in the 43, one coming down the racetrack, one coming up. In the end, the 7 gets spun around. Multi-car incident. Not a lot of heavy damage, but multiple cars involved.
You see Denny Hamlin, Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman got loose, got at the racetrack, got into the side of Denny Hamlin, spun him around.
And Kevin Harvick goes for a spin on the front straightaway after some contact with the 11. He would roll around the bottom of the racetrack, get tires, end up losing 5 laps.
And the most recent 41 of Ryan Preece, 23 of Bubba Wallace spinning. Wreck avoidance, A+ by the field. Missing that 41, sliding through the middle of the track. Marty, give us a weather update. How's it down there?
It is starting to sprinkle just a little bit, so don't believe what the drivers are telling you, like William Byron's team talking about how it's raining really hard here at the track. But what a crazy night for this 24 team. Talked about how fun this race was early on. Then they had the pit road penalty you just saw in the race recap a moment ago. Then the spin that you saw as well. No discussion at all about coming to pit road clearly for this team. All they've talked about is rain choice, and Kim, they're selling that it's pouring everywhere here at Atlanta, even though it's not really.
Well, Marty, for Daniel Suarez in P2, he has put a ton of pressure on himself to win after Ross Chastain and SVG have both gotten wins for Trackhouse Racing. But he came into this race using it as a reset race to kind of take a step back and refocus. Well, that was headed into the race. Now he finds himself in P2. It becomes a little bit tougher, and that anxiety and that pressure starting to ratchet up, Dave, for the driver of the number 99.
Good night for A.J. Allmendinger. He's led 6 laps, but he could not keep the 19 behind him. He said that, the 99 car behind him. He said that car is fast. I couldn't block him. And as you see now, they are bringing the cars down pit road. A.J.'s been providing AccuWeather reports to his team. And the last one was, yep, it's intensifying, so looks like NASCAR's made the call to bring him down pit road, Rick.
Yeah, NASCAR has let us know that they're going to bring the field onto pit road and stop the cars.
Yeah, Rick, you said it a couple times. We should remind everybody, Daytona, we've seen cars drive off into rain, cause a big accident. We've seen that happen in New Hampshire. So NASCAR's been very consistent since these issues to be err on the side of caution. This is speedway racing. And look, pop-up shower in Florida. The entire 3/4 of the field wrecks. The whole front half, the front 3/4, the 3 car of Austin Dillon sneaks by. Sneaks by and gets his way into the playoffs with this win. But that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Frustrating, right? Because you say, well, it's barely raining, but the problem is, when does that turn into downpour at 175 miles an hour?
Yeah, and then after, then they went on, they got going green again. It's all a heck of a race. But after that, NASCAR had made a policy change, and they started putting people outside the racetrack. They actually had they tried some rain detection devices, but basically just what they ended up doing was putting people around the racetrack, outside the racetrack, to observe and see if rain's in the area. So they were probably getting noticed that there was rain outside of the racetrack. It was really close. We could see it on the radar. That's why we didn't go back green right there. Just NASCAR learning from that Daytona situation and not making that mistake again.
All the cars about to come to a stop on pit road. The crews are bringing the covers out. Rain in the area here in Atlanta.
If RPMs raise your BPM.
So we are under red flag for rain at lap 185 of 260. It's about 75 laps to go. William Byron is currently your race leader at the time of the incident taking place. The rain ended up coming up during this caution. We are technically under yellow for the spin involving the 41 and the 23. And then the rain came during the caution flag period shortly thereafter. Not raining very hard at the racetrack, but obviously enough on a super speedway that you have to pull the cars onto pit road. Pretty big storm cell that is about to go through the Hampton, Georgia area, so this could lend William Byron getting his 4th win of the season. We'll just have to wait and see, though. Until NASCAR makes it official, we will be live here with our commentary, and hopefully, I mean, at all costs, hopefully we don't lose the racetrack, which hasn't really happened yet, at least at this moment. I'm sure they'll come back from the break. It'll probably be downpouring, but whatever the case is, hopefully we don't lose the racetrack, and hopefully, for whatever reason, it breaks apart. It's going to be tough to do that, especially in the nighttime with temperatures cooler. I'm no meteorologist, but I feel like you tend to see pop-up showers come and go when it's more humid outside. It's not as humid at night with the cooler air temp, so it's probably less likely to happen, if I had to guess. Billy Carjoy, official, thanks for tuning in. And again, under red flag for rain, but we will keep this live commentary coverage going until we get official word, and then we will go through, of course, the rest of the finishing results. We'll go through the finishing running order, or not the finishing order yet, but the full field order right now. Again, William Byron leads. Daniel Suarez is second. A.J. Allmendinger in third. Michael McDowell fourth. Kyle Busch in fifth. Brad Keselowski sixth. J.J. Yaley seventh. Ryan Blaney eighth. Justin Haley ninth. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is 10th. Eric Jones in 11th. Chris Buescher in 12th. Chase Elliott 13th. Austin Cindric 14th. And Todd Gilliland is 15th. Denny Hamlin in 16th. Joey Logano 17th. Eric Almirola 18th. Ty Dillon 19th, and Austin Dillon is 20th. BJ McLeod 21st, Chase Briscoe 22nd, Christopher Bell 23rd, Ryan Preece 24th, Bubba Wallace 25th, Alex Bowman 26th, and Tyler Reddick's last car in the lead lap at 27th. 28th is Harrison Burton, Martin Truex Jr. 29th, Kevin Harvick is 30th, Corey LaJoie 31st, Cole Custer 32nd, Noah Gragson 33rd. And then the cars out of the race, 34th on back, would be Ty Gibbs finishing 34th tonight, Ross Chastain 35th, Kyle Larson 36th, and Austin Hill will end up with the last place finish tonight, 37th. Covers are on the race cars. Again, it is raining. Drivers are out of the cars. You get any interviews from any of these drivers, you guys will get to listen in as well.
An amazing weekend, right? To see that street course come to life in Grant Park, right on the shores of Lake Michigan, the skyline in the background. I walked the course multiple times before it being what we saw last weekend. I didn't know how it would race. Not disappointed. Great racetrack, and really just a whole spectacular weekend other than the floods we had on Sunday morning of rain. Oh, man, it was crazy weather.
2 weeks in a row we've had intense racing. Tonight I don't even know how to tell somebody what I saw tonight. The racing in stage 1 and 2, I honestly don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. There's obviously not a track like this, Jeff, on the circuit that kind of combines mile-and-a-half racing with Daytona and Talladega style drafting, and man, it produced tonight. And as this thing continues to age, the surface getting slicker and slicker, that's playing into the treachery out there.
Yeah, it has created some unbelievable racing, and Steve said it earlier, the drivers, the teams, everybody have just done a great job, and it has been intense. It has been an extremely intense race. It started early with an early caution, and it just kept coming at us.
Well, the common denominator has been rain from Chicago to here now, and that's why we're under a red flag condition. Before the rain came, before the red flag condition, Kim caught up with Ross Chastain.
And Ross Chastain out of the race after an incident on lap 123. What happened?
I'm not sure, Kim. I saw some guys get turned around. Super slick conditions on track. I did not run a single lap wide open in our Worldwide Express Chevy tonight all weekend in qualifying or here in the race. So definitely a lack of grip for us, and bummer because obviously we had a great speed and great handling last year here. So bummer for my dad turning 60 yesterday. Wanted to, he's at so many races. It doesn't bother him too much, but just for me to give him a good birthday present would have been cool. But it's just it's one of those things. We weren't far enough up where we wanted to be. The wreck happened. I went to the brake pedal, got really tight, and went up the track and tore the right front suspension off of it.
So that was Ross Chastain, and a few have been eliminated from the race. Austin Hill being one of them, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, the three that are out. The rain's starting to pick up just a little bit more now as the covers are on the cars. Still out front, it's William Byron. So many great sports moments coming out of this town. The Olympics back in '96.
I believe they're going to another commercial break. Hot Atlanta. Humid enough that it brings a thunderstorm as NASCAR rules the town. I mean, go figure, NASCAR's had such terrible luck with rain over the last, month or so. Absolutely insane. I don't know what the weather was like there during the day, if it might have rained or not. During the afternoon, I really have no clue. Hadn't really been keeping track of the weather up until tonight when I saw it was supposed to be about an 80% chance of rain later this evening in the Hampton, Georgia area, but I didn't even really see that until it was probably earlier this morning before I left the house, about 8:30ish. Craig the Dungo, thanks for tuning in. Another Mickey Mouse win for Byron. Now, I will say, with rain races, people don't legitimize them, and I can understand why in certain aspects. If it was a pop-up shower, I can understand that randomizing, the finish of the race randomly. I think we have more of a random finishing of the race with Chicago last week, with the way that we literally went from racing the full race to we have 25 laps to go randomly when we were initially halfway. I think that was more determined in flip-flopping the finishing order than this. Teams, drivers knew from the start of the race today there was going to be rain coming, and there's a very good chance that they were not going to be able to get this race in. So, sure, we didn't know the actual scheduled distance, but the teams were strategizing throughout the course of the race to get themselves the best track position possible for when the rain came, and the 24 team was on top in doing so. And credit to Rudy Fugle. I mean, he has made some brilliant strategy calls to this 24 team since becoming crew chief full-time for William Byron after Chad Knaus left to end up in another role at Hendrick Motorsports that isn't crew chiefing anymore. So, yeah, great job. I mean, he did great. William Byron did great. Once he got to the lead, nobody passed him. Nobody was strong enough to get up there and pass him. We saw the Hendrick cars with speed earlier, and the only ones better were the RFK Fords and the Penske Fords. Well, because they had stayed out, got the stage points, and didn't play the rain portion of the strategy right, they had to pit during the stage break, and they have gotten back into the top 10. Keselowski's up to 6th, Blaney's in 8th, but they just couldn't get up there and contend with Byron quite yet. They ran out of laps. And this, again, might not be the end of the race. I'm going to assume that it is, but until NASCAR makes it official, we will wait to see. It hasn't rained very, very hard. Probably hard enough to lose the track, so I guess that really doesn't matter. It's just going to be a matter of how quickly the storm is going to blow through is the big thing. If it rains for like more than an hour, there's more of a chance that they end up calling it. But if it's going to be a rainstorm that's only going to be there for about a half hour, 45 minutes, I could see them waiting this thing out about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get the race back going again, to get a green flag finish, considering that we do still have about 75 laps to go. I mean, that's about a full fuel run yet left in this race. But again, we are past halfway, so they could make it official, and we'll just listen into the broadcast to make sure of that.
The rain's starting to come down a little bit harder. A big cell is just to the south and west of the racetrack, and it's moving to the east, and so you see it there. This is just the start of it. Again, out front, William Byron scored as the race leader. Suarez, Allmendinger, McDowell, Busch all in the top 5.
And it was some of the most intense racing I've seen in years. I mean, because it wasn't like a 5-lap window or a 10-lap window. 20, 30, 40 laps of 2, 3 wide. I mean, it was just haymakers. I mean, it was heavyweight fight up there.
Well, listening to Ross Chastain talk about his car being out of control, the cars being difficult to drive, being off throttle, just about the entire race.
You see the word on the top of the pylon, checkered. That means that NASCAR has called the race due to weather. William Byron gets his 4th win of the season, his 8th career win overall, and all smiles for young William Byron.
There you go, William Byron gets the win.
He was able to be in the right place at the right time when the weather came in. Marty.
And chatting it over with Michael McDowell, who's also very happy that this thing rained down. Man, I don't even know where to start with your day. You said it was so much fun early on, then the penalty on pit road, then the spin. How did you guys come back and make this happen?
Yeah, just teamwork. You know, honestly, I don't completely understand this one. It's just, it's a really good feeling. I've never had a rain victory like this, but just thanks to Exalta Chevrolet, I mean, it's cool, man. We were through so much throughout the night, spinning through the infield, destroyed the bottom of the car, dragging it around the apron, trying to stay on the lead lap. And at that point, you just don't have the grip, so I was real edgy back in traffic. But Rudy made a good call to pit there and then stay out. And once we got towards the front, it was okay. We could honestly make the right decisions, block okay, and got the lead from AJ and just was able to manage the runs. So just a crazy night.
Well, the guys in the booth were saying some of the most amazing racing they have seen behind the wheel. How was the racing tonight?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I think that's all you can ask for on a super speedway. We want handling to matter. We want to be able to drive the things, and I felt like the first stage was really fun. I was able to make some moves on the bottom, and you're lifting every corner. So it's really it's different than a 550 old style race, but it's more packed up, but it's still handling matters, and guys can make aggressive moves. So I was certainly edgy back in traffic, but Rudy made it, like I said, a good call, and we got it towards the front, and sometimes that's what it takes. Just thankful for the whole team and just staying in it, because we were a lap down, and it could have been over.
So you and I talked a few weeks ago, and you said all the success early in the year, the summer is very important to us. We need to show up. We need to be able to win races. How significant for the 24 team in this championship hopeful run that you are going to go on here to get a win here in the summer?
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, we're just keeping our heads in it. We, over the last few weeks, we finished in the top 15 when we don't have good cars, and the days we have really good cars, we finish in the top 5. So it's just a matter of staying with it, and today was definitely a lucky break. I can't overstate that. We were in the lead, but there's certainly a lot of laps to go. But just thankful for a good team to make good decisions, and like I said, to stay in the race when it's easy to kind of give up and pack it in.
Rick, it's a lucky break, but I'm sure he'll take it. You take wins however you can get them. William Byron with his second Atlanta win.
Well, remember, he gets 2 trophies, too. The Quaker State 400 trophy as well as the Goodyear trophy, because they're celebrating their 2,000th win. Amazingly enough, the milestones, the 1,000th win, came by Jeff Gordon in the number 24. The 2,000th win goes to the 24 driven by William Byron. The penalty early on put him behind. Then the spin on the racetrack put him even further behind. But he battled back, and as he said, as a team, they fought back, they kept focused, they got up front, they were at the right time up front, and William Byron wins in Atlanta. We'll be right back.
So William Byron gets the win. We'll go through the full field finishing order here, and then the rest of the race stats before we get out of here. If we get any other interviews from top finishers on the other side of the NBC/USA Network commercial break, you'll get to listen into that before we end this live stream as well. So our total distance tonight, 185 laps, which was 75 laps shy of the scheduled distance. Again, rain-shortened race today. I'm glad NASCAR actually called it right away instead of waiting for like an hour before they call it. Usually the longer they wait, the more of a chance we have of racing, but it looks like it's going to end up raining for probably the next couple hours or so. It would take another roughly hour to an hour and a half after that to dry the track off, so we probably wouldn't be looking at racing until like 1, 2 in the morning at that point. So that's why NASCAR decided to call the race. Again, we were past the halfway point, so it is official. And we did get the first 2 stages of the race in entirely before the rain came. So this is just the finishing order of the race. William Byron gets his 4th win of the season. Now he has the most of any other driver this year, doubling his career win total just this year. He had 4 career wins in his first, 5 career Cup seasons, and now he gets 4 this season. Unbelievable job there. Daniel Suarez finishes in 2nd place today. Solid points day, needed it. He came in on the bubble just 6 points ahead of the cutoff line coming into the day, so this is massive for him. A.J. Allmendinger came into the day also just outside the cutoff line coming in on Suarez, finishes 3rd, so he's not going to lose many points there. Michael McDowell came in just minus 10 points behind the cutoff line, and he will finish in 4th. Did a great job. He risked it on fuel at the end of the race. There were other teams that had a chance to do that to keep track position, and probably could have helped McDowell win the race potentially as well, but he was the only one that stayed out that knew that they were going to have to pit within 20 to 30 laps, so that rain came within about 25 laps at the start of the stage, so it worked out beautifully for McDowell to get 4th place. Kyle Busch, top 5 in 3 straight super speedway races this year, both Atlanta races. Talladega he won, finishes 5th tonight. RCR's got that program down for the super speedways, but not as much with Austin Dillon. But Kyle Busch is in contention every super speedway race this season. Of course, outside of the Daytona 500 finishing-wise, which he was in contention to win there late, he has been in contention to potentially pull off, again, at least a top 5 finish on these super speedways so far this season. So, I just paused it so I can read the point standings off after this. Brad Keselowski ends up finishing 6th today after winning Stage 2. Tough break, man. He probably had one of the fastest cars in the field again for the second straight Atlanta race. Just can't get it done. He's been close to winning a Super Speedway race this year, too. Busch got his at Talladega. Keselowski's got 2 more chances to do it this year. I would not be shocked if he wins one of them. J.J. Yaley finishes in 7th. Great job, by the way, by Yaley. I don't want to just skip over that. Rick Ware Racing, part-time, finishes 7th. He also stayed out of the pits during that last caution to jump up through the field. Justin Haley finishes 8th today. Back-to-back top 10 finishes. Finished 2nd at Chicago in the street race last weekend. Ryan Blaney ends up finishing in 9th. He was scored in 8th when the caution flag came out, and now he is in 9th, so maybe NASCAR reorganized that. Again, these results are unofficial. I'm sure they'll go back through the last timing loop at the line from when that last caution came out for the Ryan Preece Bubba Wallace spin, but as of right now, Haley 8th, Ryan Blaney 9th, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's also been strong on the Super Speedways this year, gets a 10th place finish tonight. Eric Jones involved in a couple incidences that he caused but kept his car clean for the most part, ends up 11th. Austin Cindric 12th, had a fast car today as well. Chase Elliott ends up finishing 13th, Denny Hamlin 14th. Chris Buescher 15th, well behind his teammate, just couldn't follow him through the pack there from when they last pitted at the end of Stage 2. Todd Gilliland 16th. Joey Logano lost a lot of track position as well. Same with Buescher, same strategy there. Again, 17th place finish for Joey. Eric Almirola ends up 18th. Ty Dillon 19th, and BJ McLeod 20th. Austin Dillon 21st. Chase Briscoe 22nd. Christopher Bell 23rd. 24th place Ryan Preece. Bubba Wallace 25th. Alex Bowman 26th. And Tyler Reddick, last car in the lead lap, at 27th. Harrison Burton, first car lap down, 28th. Martin Truex Jr., 29th. Kevin Harvick in 30th. Corey LaJoie, 31st. Cole Custer, 32nd. Noah Gragson, 33rd. A lot of those cars that I just mentioned had some damage, like Custer, Gragson, LaJoie, Harvick, all had damage from earlier spins or incidences, and that's why they were a few laps down or more. Ty Gibbs ends up finishing in 34th place. 35 laps down out of the race. Ross Chastain out of the race. You heard from him right when the rain was just starting. He'll finish 61 laps down and 35th after damage from the same incident Gibbs was involved in. And then Kyle Larson had his problems. Had a spin. Right front tire blew out. They didn't change the right front. That could have easily been avoided. Maybe he could have been up there with his teammate Byron at the end, but could have, would have, should have. Big mistake there by the team, and then by Larson, of course, to have the spin, which resulted in the team then making the mistake on pit road. And Austin Hill rounds out the 37-car field today, the only non-chartered entry car in the field tonight, and he ends up finishing outside the top 36 in 37. 2 hours, 24 minutes, 18 seconds from the drop of the green flag to the official end to this one. Average race speed 120.18 miles per hour. Probably would have been a little quicker. We did have about 10 caution laps, maybe a little right around there, give or take, really, with this caution and the rain coming. They ran probably 5 or 6 laps in the rain under caution until they lost the racetrack and then decided to bring the cars onto pit road. And race winner William Byron leads 20 laps today. The most laps led was by pole sitter Eric Almirola, who led 46 laps. Chris Buescher led the next most with 39 laps led, and then Byron and Blaney tied for the third most with 20 laps led. Ryan Blaney won Stage 1 today. Keselowski won Stage 2. Brad led 19 laps today for 3 different times that he led. And again, was maybe in contention to win. I mean, there were so many drivers in contention to win in this race. Virtue of the strategy. From a speed standpoint, the Fords definitely impressed as predicted for today's race, but didn't get the win like I predicted. Ultimately, at the end, it was William Byron getting the job done. Total of 7 cautions through the 185 laps that we did end up seeing. One of those was a stage end, and then we had a late caution at the end of Stage 2, which led to the end of the second stage as well. As far as drivers who led at least 1 lap in the race, and not all under green flag conditions, like BJ McLeod only led under caution. I think he was the only one that actually led under caution. Bubba Wallace might have only led under yellow too. I don't know if he led a green flag lap, but most of these under green flag conditions, but whatever the case was, looks like we had a total of, I want to make sure I count this right, 12 different leaders in today's race, and it felt like we had more lead changes than what it actually shows on here, but looks like 19 lead changes with the 12 drivers that led laps in tonight's race. And again, 9 cautions. Byron wins it. Let's see who had the fastest lap. Denny Hamlin, I believe, had the fastest lap. A 29.967. Oh my goodness. Actually 29.909. Kyle Busch a little bit quicker. I think only looks like 3 drivers ran 29.9s at some point today. Make that 4. Gibbs did. And actually, I think Gibbs had the fastest lap. I'm just double checking through that. 909. Nope, it was Busch. Okay, so Kyle Busch had the fastest lap of the race. Average speed of 185.362 miles per hour. Again, average speed for a lap. And then, again, the lap time was a 29.909. One of only 4 drivers to run a lap under 30 seconds. Point standings exiting this race today. We have just 8 races to go in the regular season. And currently, again, drivers with wins this year. Byron with 4, Busch with 3, Larson with 2, Truex with 2. All of these drivers have 1 wins, which would be Chastain, Hamlin, Blaney, Reddick, Bell, Logano, and Stenhouse. And there are still 5 spots eligible for points to get in these final 8 races before the playoffs. Kevin Harvick plus 126, even with a poor finish tonight. He had a lot of stage points. Again, the Fords were very fast. Chris Buescher, a lot of stage points as well. He grows that total out to 105 points ahead. Brad Keselowski came in plus 91. He is now plus 100 with the top 10 finish. Again, finishing at 6 tonight. Daniel Suarez, who came into the day plus 6, leaves the day plus 3. He didn't get any stage points, but he did finish second, which was good enough to keep him above the cutoff line for at least one more week. Michael McDowell, also plus 3 after finishing 4th. By the way, Michael McDowell's finished in the top 10 in 3 of the last 4 races. AJ Allmendinger's finished in the top 10 in the last 4 races. And AJ's finished in the top 3 in 3 of the last 4 races. So good stretch for both of those guys. I just mentioned McDowell was plus 3. Bubba Wallace is minus 3. He came in 15 points above the cutoff line, a net loss of 18 points there, with McDowell and Suarez finishing 2nd and 3rd. Wallace ended up 25th. He was in that late spin and was running just outside the top 10 at the time. So if he didn't spin and didn't have an incident, he probably would have ended up in the back half of the top 10. He would have lost points, but I don't think he would have lost all 15. But anyway, he's minus 3. And AJ Allmendinger has cut the gap down to minus 13, which he was minus 26 coming in. So he cut that in half. Ty Gibbs is now minus 26. I think he was minus 45 coming into the day. He did not have a good, Gibbs was actually the last driver above the cutoff line. He was tied with Suarez on points coming into the day and ended up DNFing, so now he's minus 26. He literally dropped 3 spots in points just in one race. That's how tight it was around the bubble. Austin Cindric, minus 40 points. Had a chance to really cut that gap down. He had a lot of stage points today, but did not get a good finish at the end. So that is all the drivers on the cutoff line as of right now. And waiting to see if they had any other interviews. I did pause the actual race broadcast live-wise. And it actually looks like, what is this, Law & Order on USA Network right now? Okay, so I believe they moved the post-race to Peacock. They're probably right at the end of their scheduled airtime. Actually, 10:30 is the scheduled airtime. Well, give me a second here. Unless this is an ad. I don't think it is. It looks like a TV show. It could be an ad. Let me listen.
The world doesn't work that way. I mean, words have consequences.
No, okay, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, their scheduled airtime's to 10:30, at least according to Hulu, where I watch the races, but for whatever reason, 10:13 Eastern Standard Time, they are no longer on the air. So the post-race show is on Peacock, so no more interviews coming your way, which, again, I'm quite surprised considering they called it short. I was going to say they could have been past the scheduled airtime. They ended the race short of its scheduled distance. So, yeah, if you're looking to watch the post-race show, it is on Peacock. We do have one more thing to go through in our post-race show real quick, and that is where everything aligned in fantasy. I actually did not set my fantasy lineup. I went to the Detroit Tigers baseball game earlier today, and they went to extras, and then traffic leaving out of there, parking the same parking garage every time I go to a game, and they were directing traffic back into downtown for whatever reason. I couldn't get right onto I-75, so by the time I got here, it was like 12 minutes before the start of the stream, and I did not get my fantasy lineup in. That was something I probably should have done this morning, so it's still my fault at the end of it. I'm not going to... I could blame the morbidly obese lady for pushing me into traffic the opposite direction, but I'm not going to do that. At the end of the day, I probably should have had it done before I left, just in case. I could also blame the Detroit Tigers for blowing a 3-0 lead, forcing the game to go to extra innings, which also lengthened the game probably a good 20-25 minutes. So I think that's part of the blame. They get part of the blame. They're not going to get no blame. They're going to get part of it, though. I will take the majority of it. I was probably a little too hard on myself saying that I deserve all of the blame, because things could have been different getting out of there. All right, we already checked the point standings. I had to log on to fantasy. I got sidetracked there. Talking about traffic. I don't leave early to beat traffic either. I'm not one of those people. I get my money's worth. They went to extra innings. I got free baseball. I'm staying for free baseball, damn it. All right. Looking at the fantasy lineup, I did actually have Daniel Suarez and AJ Allmendinger and Michael McDowell, which all ended up top 5. So me not setting my lineup actually worked out because I had those guys last week, so that's why they were in this week. I had Shane Van Gisbergen. He wasn't even running this week, so he was an obvious pick for the garage. Ended up finishing with no stage points for Suarez. Again, finished in second. AJ Allmendinger in third. Michael McDowell fourth. And they did both get stage points in the race. I think AJ in stage 2, and then McDowell in both stages was in the back half of the top 10. Tyler Reddick got 2 stage points today. Did not have a good finish. Ended up 27th. And then Christopher Bell ends up finishing just outside the top 10 today. 7 stage points as well. Actually, I think he was only a couple positions ahead of Reddick. Reddick was 27th, Bell was 23rd, so yeah, not a good finish there. Not bad though. I mean, I got 3 of the 5 in the top 5. I mean, I can't really complain. The problem is I didn't get any bonus points. Now, would I have missed bonus points? I would have had Logano over Byron. Byron won. I would have had Blaney over Elliott, so I missed out on that. I would have had Brad over Bowman. I missed that. Wallace and Gibbs, I don't know who I would have taken. Wallace started deeper in the field than Gibbs did, but Wallace is... I don't know who I would have taken for that, so I could have went either way, but I definitely missed out on 20 bonus points. That is something I could have had, and honestly, I'm curious to see from the point standing side of it who had the most points today. It looks like Ryan Blaney has the most points of anybody today based off of stage points and race points with 47. Byron, who won the race, ended up with the second most. Keselowski. I definitely would have had Keselowski, Blaney, and Logano on my team. That is without a doubt. So I could have had number 1 and number 3 in points scored, and I didn't. Yeah, I finished 10th this week. I really shouldn't have. I should have finished worse based off the lineup that I had, but I definitely could have been better if I could have set my lineup, unfortunately. I ended up 10th with 147 points. We're given Buckeye Racing Team will win our Atlanta Summer Race. 216 points for him. Sauce Mafia and Austin Dillon fan with 201 points ends up second. Inside Uranus with 196 points ends up third. Dark Crypto with 191 points tied for fourth with Nathan Powers, who also had 191. So that is your top 5. Somebody else tied with him. Nope. So that was the top 5. We're giving Buckeye Racing Team. Who did he have? He had McDowell also. Good pick. McDowell, Blaney, Keselowski. So he went heavy with the Fords. Good picks there. Did not have Logano, which is surprising. Maybe he's used him a ton this year. He had Chastain in the garage. He wrecked early, so that was a good move to get him out of there. Justin Haley had the 8th most points today and ended up finishing 8th as well. So good pick taking Haley. And Eric Jones finished in 11th, just outside the top 10. So yeah, he had a pretty good team. For a super speedway, having all 5 in the top 11 and 4 of them in the top 8, that's pretty solid. And points scored at least. Obviously, finishing order, he only had 2 in the top 10, and I had 3, but that just goes to show the guys that I had in my lineup didn't score nearly as many stage points as the guys he had in his lineup. He also got bonus points. I would have had 20 of them. I left 20 out, which if I would have had the 20, I would have ended up finishing 7th this week. So I would have gained a few positions, so that didn't matter. Dang. His bonus points, he did have Logano over Byron, so he missed that. Had Blaney over Chase, Brad over Bowman, which I would have had probably for both of those, so we would have kind of evened out there as well. And then, I don't know if I would have taken Wallace or Gibbs. That was kind of a coin flip based off of Gibbs starting way ahead of Wallace. Wallace having to start at the rear of the field, but Bubba better at super speedway racing overall than Gibbs. Bubba did have him beat today, by the way, 25th versus Gibbs DNFing, finishing 34th. Both involved in an incident at some point in this one. J.J. Yaley had the 10th most points of any driver today for fantasy. That would have been a steal of a pick if somebody had him. I doubt anybody did. I don't blame them either. That would be a big risk. Unbelievable. All right, so that's going to end the stream. I mentioned the Fantasy League. You can join on the NASCAR mobile app or website. Chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race if you're choosing the following season. If you win the playoff or regular season championship, you do automatically qualify for the playoffs if you're in the league when the playoffs begin on Labor Day weekend with the Southern 500 at Darlington. So definitely want to tune in now into the league so you're in it by the time the playoffs start. Don't forget. And also so you can get acclimated and familiarized with the actual way of how the fantasy works on a week-to-week basis. It literally just takes the driver's points for the day, stage points, driver points. It's pretty easy, and you just pick 5 guys in your lineup. You can't use somebody more than 10 times. I think in the playoffs you can't use them more than 5 times because obviously there's only 10 races, so it does minimize that. I think it's 5. The first year it was only 3, and then that was like too hard, so then after that they started doing 5. And that was before I even had the fantasy channel. I think they've been doing the fantasy since like 2018 or somewhere around there on NASCAR's website. And we've only had the channel since early 2020. And we didn't even start doing the live commentary streams until last year. It's how far this channel's come in the last calendar year. 165 likes on the stream. Our goal was 200, but they did end the race short. I'm sure we would have had an influx of viewership if we could have gone to the scheduled end, because that usually happens every week, but unfortunately the end came 75 laps earlier than what we were expecting probably going into the race day. So didn't get to our goal, but at the same time I'm not going to dock myself or you guys for not hitting the like button, because you guys did smash it out of the park hitting the like button. Usually the goal is 150, and we got to that before we even got to the end of the race, which is awesome. So the scheduled end of the race. William Ayers reacts. Thanks for tuning in there at the end. I don't cheer for a certain driver. I cheer for both drivers on Team Trackhouse. Okay, yeah, that's cool. The Trackhouse racing's been on fire, by the way. Chastain won at Nashville. A win for Shane Van Gisbergen last week at Chicago. And Suarez finishes second this week. They've had at least one of their cars finish second or better, and it's only a 2-car organization. Last week it was 3 technically, but any week usually it's 2-car organization, and one of the 2 have finished in the top 2 3 straight races, so they got a good streak going there for themselves. That is going to wrap up our Sunday night coverage of the Quaker State 400 at Atlanta. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys for next week. New Hampshire Xfinity Series live commentary coverage will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our Cup Series coverage on Sunday will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, definitely be sure to do so. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads or live streams as well. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your night, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.